Hello and welcome, all you gamers, agents, and actually, Yuki, what are your followers' names?
Snippies.
Snappies.
Oh, hang on. We've got some echo.
Ooh. Well, you echo on my
Okay,
end.
fixed it.
All right.
It was on my side. Yeah, Twitch was unmuted.
All right. Standard scuff at the start of the stream, so we're all doing good. But welcome back to the agency. And does your channel actually have another name than Yuki Gaming?
No, just Yuki Kase Gaming.
Yep. Well, welcome to the agency with me, Agent Q, 123, and Yuki Kaze Gaming. We're here to go. We are here to go over the fall season of anime for anything. For any of you who don't have a massive backlog of 2 watches, to give you an idea of what to catch up on and what to just not even bother trying.
Oh, I think I realized what might be missing. There we go.
Oh,
Nope.
What'd you forget,
Maybe.
Yuki?
Okay.
You got it?
I think so. Go ahead. I'll get it sorted out on my side.
All right, but today we will be going over trailers as well as all the review of ranking. Now, to go over our ranking list here, we have 5 different categories this season. To be note for anyone returning, these categories do change slightly depending on what the season was full of. The coveted S tier, the game-changing masterpieces, stuff that you can look back at and like, oh damn, that's when that hit. That's when that started, or that's when this guy got going, or this is what shaped this genre. Near perfect show. Yeah, near perfect shows and monumental aspects to their genres. Below that, we have
Often masterworks of their creators.
more aspiring starts with a massive amounts of crazy and ambition that managed to land it. Underneath S, we have the A rank. A ranks are your solid grade A pieces of animation that you will generally see at the top of talk lists and people and your friends reciting, "Oh man, you gotta watch this! It was so good." That being said, these do generally fall a little short of the S class, not meaning that they're not perfect, but that they are just great crafted shows or have some, I don't want to say minor flaws, but generally a lot of time it is just little things or little lacks of ambitions that keep stuff from striking further.
Sometimes it's simply a lack of global appeal.
Mm. Oh, that might be a little bit relevant for this season too. Ugh. Some Japanese only kind of shows on here. Oh, you don't know the culture? Well, we're not going to explain some stuff now. All right. Up next, we have the B tier. Bs are once again very solid, well done shows, with generally either some flaws showing through the cracks or some great pieces that elevated a overall bad show into something very well and memorable.
B tiers will also often usually be kind of a must watch if it's your genre of show.
Oh, definitely on that one. But these are also shows that will, if they are outside your comfort zone or outside your general like list, won't grab you in. And underneath the B tier, we have the low ranked C tier. Now, I know mids kind of turn into an insult, but so much stuff gets so good, so high end. Is mid is about as low as people will sink nowadays. While in your genre, these shows will be good. If this is a genre or concept that just does not jive with you, this is generally it'll be at some lofty ambitions falling short, or low bad budget cuts, or generally an IP that was just cranked out with a mid talent team will be found here.
For that matter, since we don't have a trash tier this season, we'll probably be putting a lot of our what we'd usually put in the trash tier here as well. Since that's kind of the comfort food slash junk food of the genre. If it's your thing, you'll probably end up devouring it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or will resonate with others.
Yep, passable, but some days McDonald's is passable too, and none of us really like to admit that.
Some days you just gotta have those fries.
To be fair, I've also been tempted to try their new spicy nuggets.
Ah, a person with a death wish, I see.
I like me some spice. What, you're telling me you've never tried ghost pepper cream cheese before?
It would probably be actually fatal to me, so that said, I have had the mango habanero wings from Chili's. I used to have those a lot before I knew any better.
That's also why I have a bottle of digestive enzymes, at least rolling around my house, if not my person at most times. But lastly on our list, we have the skip tier. There's a lot of goddamn anime coming out every freaking season, in between seasons, classics getting brought back onto that. If it's down here, there's something better to watch. Go watch something else. Like, I don't like being mean, but when you're
Yeah, if we're ranking it there, it's at the very least probably just not worth your time.
poorly made, dull, boring, or
Overtly offensive in some manner.
I didn't quite want to think that, but yeah, there are some stuff you just kind of go, yeah. Which I finally found something that made me go, oh wow, this is what uncomfortable feels like.
And mind you, we're not necessarily talking about morally reprehensible. For the most part, we try to stay away from such judgments in this channel. However, some things are, for instance, a visual nightmare or just painfully boring to the point where it makes you angry that you're watching it.
Yeah, because Japan, you get weird sometimes. No. Japan, you get weird. Let's up that to just weird in general.
I mean, it is part of what we love about Japan, but sometimes it definitely goes in a direction that just isn't as appealing.
Yep. All right. With that, let's get to our first show. Yuki, you will be doing the order this time because you have the trailers up. So,
Correct. So we'll be leading off very, very strong
oh
with
wow.
Dandadan.
Start with the goat. Why don't you?
もし幽霊がいるってなったらあんたはうちのパシリにするからね。見せてやりましょう UFO や UAP。 おいお前 UFO 見たことねえだろ。綾瀬さんこそ幽霊見たことあるんですか。ないよ。恐縮っす。何あれほんとやめてほしい。彼女に触るな。頑張れオカルトくん。はい。一も触らせろや。炎をください。助けてください。自分をコントロールできます。オカルトくん。なえるぜ。
Yeah, so speaking of weird,
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Science Saru is now on my anime studios to watch when their name pops up now because of this one.
oh yeah, I mean this show, putting aside anyone's potential issues with certain types of weirdness in it, is from an animation and story perspective easily a contender for best new anime of the year.
Ooh, this was a stiff year, and yeah, a little piece of me thinks we should have started Down on as our opener for this season because, oh my, yeah, this okay. I remember it was either a season or two a little while ago. I remember we watched a show with a premise of cryptids and spectral monsters fighting aliens, and it was such a letdown on such a great premise.
Oh yeah, that one was awful.
It infuriated me to a point I could barely like. I don't think I've ever had even the. Oh God, are we at 2 years of doing this now?
Yeah, I think we might be.
I think next season's our 2 year anniversary. Oh my fucking God, holy shit! Um, What the fuck did that happen? Okay, but infuriating me. Dad to Dad, on the other hand, does everything goddamn right in that ass. So I I don't even really know where to start with. The animation is beautiful. If you could get over how weird and bizarre it is, which you're watching anime, it being overly weird and bizarre seems a little of an odd thing to complain about. Looking at this list,
Yeah,
it's like,
you're not going to see any noticeable CGI here or anything like that. This is smooth and clean through and through, and incredibly stylized. Um, there was a lot of thought put into every scene and every frame of this series.
and not just the animation too. It's all the monster designs, the character designs, which I know a little bit more to the mangaki. But once again, like they're adapting a greatly conceptualized story, greatly conceptualized characters. Um, Okaran and was it Momo?
Yeah.
I know two characters' names from this whole season. It's those two. I can remember those two names exclusively.
Oh yeah, characters had excellent chemistry on screen, which definitely added to this quite a bit. Um, like there weren't even like romance anime that had this kind of chemistry this season.
It is weirdly okay. Is it weirdly as bizarre as everything in this show is? These felt like some of the most human characters I think I saw this season overall. Like there were some pretty good ones, but awkward teenaged, not angst, just awkward teenageness.
I mean, there was definitely some angst in there as well.
Okay, there was
but
some angst,
it
yes.
wasn't necessarily front and center at all times.
You're talking about teenagers, like that, like a little bit of angst just kind of gets sprinkled in there.
I will say, the story was good as well. There was some really nice world building. The only thing that it arguably suffered from as a standalone product was just that it was not a complete show in one season. It very clearly was intending to pick up with like a season 2 after the ending, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in that I would definitely love to see more of this show. However, in terms of like rating it as a self-contained series, that's one of the only real nitpicks you can give it is season 1 just isn't a complete show.
No, that is the minor nitpick. On the other hand, anyone in for the shonen long haul, this might be the contender for quite a while. Personal note, Hot Grandma. Holy shit, Hot Grandma.
The gilf.
Hey,
yeah.
you could feel weird, embarrassed, or locked up about young women. You don't get much of that with the older women, though. Just experience.
Not in anime for the most part. No, not unless it's like the old granny that's actually been turned into a lolly or something. That said, the standard warning does apply. This is a series that follows two high school age, and therefore underage characters, and does have them in multiple situations involving various states of undress and romantic and sexual chemistry. So if that's a problem for you, then that would be probably one of the few things that might keep a person away from this series.
The main character does rip a dress open and bite titty at one point.
Also, a significant portion of the plot does focus on the male lead's testicles.
I almost forgot about that.
Now, it is for the most part in the service of either that sort of immature humor that really like fits with the characters, or in service of kind of humanizing the characters, I guess you could say, and like really bringing out that part of teenagerhood.
Yeah, there's so much we could talk about and keep going on about this, but I think I do want to rank this because there's a lot to talk about this season. Oh my god, look at
There sure
list.
is.
Look at this list, guys. There's some really weird stuff in here and some classics and some other things. Okay,
I
Doug.
think if there's anything that we have a no-brainer S for, it's probably this one.
Yeah, a little piece of me was like, oh, I hope you don't want to argue for A because it's not quite bold breaking because this feels like a I don't want to say game changer, but this feels more and more like what classic shonen used to get away with, just pushing the envelope, doing some balls to the walls, nutty stuff.
Oh yeah, it has strong Fooly Cooly kind of vibes to it.
Yep. Okay, next one ready up. Let us see what
Next up, we have Blue Box.
俺には毎朝一番に会いたい人がいる。会いたい人が。俺もこの夏インターハイ行こうって。そのくらいじゃないと先輩と釣り合わないなって。目指すのは自由だろ。
ほんと無茶が好きだね。
お前カノチナツのこと好きなの？俺と当たるまで負けんなよ。
実力不足の俺にとって自分を信じるなんてことは超難問だけど。
大輝くんなら大丈夫だよ。
好きな人の言葉はこんなに簡単に信じれる。勝ちたい。相手が全国トップの強敵でも粘って食らいついて最後まで全力で。千夏先輩だってきっとそうやって戦ってるはず。
全国諦めたくないなって君のおかげだよ。ありがとう猪俣大輝くん。
Okay, one thing I do want to point out that it's been popping up in my feeds lately. Netflix is making a good play for anime. Crunchyroll has been, I don't want to say deteriorating, but Sony ain't doing good right now, and Sony ain't caring too much about Crunchyroll. So Netflix has,
Oh, unfortunate.
yeah. When your CEO comes out with a statement, Crunchyroll is not meant for any kind of adults or older audiences.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I had a feeling that would happen sooner or later.
Yeah, especially with them looking at by Kanagawa for.
So glad that they bought up all the anime streaming services and combined them into one.
To shut them
and
down.
Then decided to do that. Yeah, obviously it's a great thing.
All right. With that being said, Blue Box itself, I watched 2 episodes of this. I could not bring myself to care after that. Yuki, did you do any better?
I had wanted to pick this one up after I found out that it was really more of a romance anime that was skinned as a sports anime, because I had a feeling you would end up dropping it. But to be honest, it didn't even make it onto my watch list on Netflix, and I kind of forgot about it. It suffered from that being on another platform syndrome.
Especially, is one of its biggest problems with being on Netflix is you boot up Netflix. There's a lot more competition than just anime, and for a slow burn high school slice of life sports romance anime, God, booting up Netflix does not make me want to watch that.
I think a part of it too is just there's so many shows, right? Just within anime alone, and so few of them are on Netflix that it it's tough for me to remember to log into Netflix at all to watch shows on Netflix.
Hey, my feed, like a few of my news feeds have been saying Netflix actually almost overtook Crunchyroll for watched hours in anime.
Yeah, I mean that's just because it has a huge built-in watch base, but and they're active in so many countries that Crunchyroll isn't.
Yeah, but okay, it does kind of that a little piece of me does hate the fact that we did not give this a good watch, but at the same point, if a show manages to kick both of us to the curb just from its looks, its location, that's got to be the failing of a couple of people at the very least, or a couple of choices, whether through bad luck or bad marketing. I think we might have our first skip too.
Perhaps I can't really give it a solid rating. I guess we don't have our did not watch tier this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's I've kind of been wanting to condense stuff down a little bit more, and if it winds up on the do not watch for two of us, while we do have overlap, we are fairly different. And if it's doing that, I feel like it's kind of falls into the skip.
Fair enough.
All right, up you go. Sorry, Blue Box, but effort and I think was that goddamn Cloverworks. It looks like the standard look good romance, not Yuri, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
I think I know what you're
Violet
going for there.
Evergarden, Mishko Biabashi, Dragon Maid, whoever does those guys' studio, like their style.
Could be, yeah. It really doesn't look anything like Dragon Maid, but I could see the resemblance to Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, I know that studio normally does that. I know Dragon Maid's a little bit different on their art style, but all right, let's continue on to something we've actually watched here.
Next up is You Are Miss Servant. Well, that was an extremely short trailer.
No joke on that one. Okay, I know when you had first saw the trailer for this, you made a comment it looked like a different show. I was not sure which one. An older anime about a person.
Oh, it's not that it looked like it so much as it resembles it in content. Mahoramatic, um, which was a Gainax anime about a battle android that became a maid.
Okay, so here's the question. That's I early on put this one as a skip. I know you said you were going to try to watch it. Were you able to get to it?
I was able to get to it. I did watch it all the way through. It's not that it's necessarily like a skip. Like, okay, the character designs in this are really nice looking. If you're into little sister characters, it has a really entertaining little sister character in there. Uh, though she doesn't get a ton of screen time. Um, I would say this is pretty much like a C rank. Like the detail level could have put this pretty high in the list in terms of visual quality, but it suffered from something that those kind of series often do, which is that so much of the time was spent on all of that detail that it was rare for them to allow the characters to move or do much in the scenes. And when they do it kind of like very slowly, which means that you end up with not a lot of like what I'd call visual interest in any given scene. Um, Aside from that, it it was there's nothing really redeeming here in terms of like the plot or the character chemistry or anything like that. Really, the best character was the little sister character, and she's not enough to carry the show on her own. Um, it's really just one of those like harem shows, but they those trade on their fan service, and this just didn't really have any of that.
Oh, it's and you're still saying C after all that? Was there some kind of redeeming stuff to it?
It's just that it wasn't overtly bad. Like, it's certainly watchable if it's your thing. Like, if this is your genre, and you can handle a show that is like this and doesn't have any fan service, then go for it. But it's just not. It's not interesting enough to give it anything better than a C for sure.
Okay, being a bit generous with that, but you watched more of this than I did, and this is definitely, I think, more up your alley than is mine. So I will definitely trust you there. Um, hmm. If not too much more to add, we can skip ahead to the next one too.
All right, moving right along. Loner life in another world.
Yeah.
俺は今異世界を一人ぼっちで攻略している。仲間がいた方がいいのは分かってる。でも誰にも口出しされない気ままな生活、何者にも代えがたい。女子たちを探し出して襲うぞ。
よーし覚悟しとけよ。
やっほー、ぼっちか。まさか本当に異世界？
みんなを助けに来てくれたんだよね。
そんなこと言った覚えは一度も。嘘出してるもんでね、殺さないでくれ。全てを仕組んでたのかもしれない。凶悪なチートスキル、まさか。はるかくん。ぼっちにだって守るものはあんだよ。一人ぼっちの異世界攻略、2024年10月放送開始。
Well, apparently a long-running series. Okay, Yuki, were you able to watch this one?
Yes. In fact, this was one of the ones I would say I kind of looked forward to the most. Even though it's objectively trash.
Oh yeah, no. The biggest reason for our absentee on the trash category was the normal isekai garbage we both fairly well enjoy was rather absent this season, with the exception of where did you go now? Of this one, or A Loner Life. That being said, while this is the classroom isekai bit, I will say I love that the main character, while strong, wasn't, drastically OP compared to absolutely everybody else.
The bit that he was supposed to be underpowered and, wasn't, really kind of helped keep the show interesting and carry it a little bit. But, like, I don't know. Objectively, it's not a very good show. If you're not an isekai trash goblin, you're probably not going to get much entertainment out of this. But at the same time, it was very enjoyable if that is your thing.
Yep.
If you like French fries, these were really good French fries.
Yep. One other prop I really want to give it to it is, hey, introverts are a common place thing. Some of us just like our alone time and to be isolated for bits on time. Like, you don't see us a lot because we like to be alone a lot. But this show, this show didn't make him an incel, like, oh, I hate the world, or they wronged me, or I'm afraid. It's like, oh, sometimes just being alone and just, being comfortable by yourself is a thing people do.
I think there's an analogy there, which is like the class project where someone has to step up and make it work, and you're an introvert, but you like step up and do it because it needs to be done. and that is the protagonist in the show.
Yep, I'll definitely give you that. The rest of the class too, fairly well overall characters. The only kind of part where it lost me at the end was the waifu prize the main character kind of got. It felt like to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. At the same time, like the waifu prize, so to speak, was actually kind of another introvert, which I'll give him a little bit of credit there at least.
Oh, trust me, two
But
introverts
either
living in the
way,
same house is very interesting because both of you just kind of avoid each other for like half the day time. It can also be very fun. That being said, it's not. I don't think I could give it B tier goodness, but
yeah, I couldn't really justify giving it more than a C, even though it was one of my favorite shows of the season personally. I know that anyone who isn't into this genre would be a hard pass on this.
yep. So yeah, this is the C rank. If this is your genre, it's your genre. You might enjoy it. If it's not, probably watch over it. But alrighty then. What do we have next on the docket?
Next up is 365 Days to the Wedding.
私と結婚しませんか。
結婚するふりから始まる。
ラブストーリー。
別にぼーっとしてない。どうやって返事しようか考えてたんだよ。
Relatable.
また怯えさせたかな。きっと彼に怖い人って思われてるだろうな。結婚願望なし。
一人生活好きが恋をした。
恋愛ヘタレ社会人。
ポンコツ男女二人のムズキュンストーリー。
私たちが結婚すればアラスカ行きはなしになります。
結婚するって本当ですか。2024年テレビアニメ化決定。
Alright, the quick back of the box plot summary of this show is two extremely autistically coded introverts pretend that they're getting married to avoid being shipped off to Alaska.
Hijinks ensue.
If that description sounds like something you would be interested in, this'll probably be a good show for you. Otherwise, you're not going to find a lot here.
This is a dry romance or office romance comedy.
Comedy, yeah.
Yeah, this is
But like dry British humor almost.
yeah,
For the
no,
most part.
that's what I was kind of thinking when I said dry, and it was just kind of oh, I once again, this was 2 episodes for me, and then I couldn't focus. I could not focus on the show anymore. It was just nothing was bad, just nothing great.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like a cut above a lot of the other shows we saw this season animation-wise, which isn't to say it was fantastic, just that it wasn't at all overtly bad. Like there wasn't any moments that would make you cringe watching it or anything like that. There were a couple cute subplots and things like that. But ultimately, I can't really say that this would be appealing to anyone who's not specifically into the thing that I described.
Yeah, this one. Do we have another C here, don't we?
I think we do, yeah.
All right, now we have to start placing these. Where would you like to put this?
Right there in the middle.
Yeah. Okay, that's reasonable. That one was. All right, that's. Nope, that's the wrong.
Next up is Let This Grieving Soul Retire.
トレジャーハンターになろうぜ。 目指すはただ一つ、世界最強の英雄だ。この6人ならきっとなれるな、クライ。
それが全ての始まりであり、お前やれよリーダー。は？終わりだった。
もしかして無理ゲ
それから数年、
あんたの
ー。ストグリのリーダー。マスターの凄さが分かったらひざまずくべき。
ティノ、黙ろうね。僕は圧倒的に凡人だった。さすがに治療は宝具なのか。何もかもが宝具ですけど、それが何か。
もう演技うますぎ。
は？っていうか、帝都最強なんて誰が言い出したんだよ。そうだ、依頼は誰かにやらせればいい。
スパルタは大概にしてください。
うんうん、そうだね。レベル3なのに。
クライさん、私の力が必要だと思い帰ってきました。
時が来た。
お任せください、マスターメイムス。おそらくこのままでは調査隊は全滅することになります。全てはマスターの計算。どうにもならない依頼を適当に振ったりはしない。
完全に適当に振っちゃった。僕の命は17個あるんだよ。嘆きの亡霊は引退したい。2024年10月放送。
Okay, I'm going to start.
Fantasy trash through and through.
Yes, but it happens to have one of my favorite. Okay, if I say Eins und Golden syndrome, would you know what that means?
Oh yeah, you're referring to Overlord.
Yep. This is a show where the main character is out of his depths, knows he's out of his depths, and does everything he can to make sure nobody A, finds out about that, and B, gets himself put in direct danger.
And at the same time does an excellent job of making everyone else assume that they know so much more than they do by being incredibly vague, and get carried constantly by that fact. This is a like character that secretly has a very high luck stat kind of show.
Above average, okay, high luck and above average intelligence. I will say that there's no, okay, the one thing I like, because this happens to be one of my new favorite tropes. The leader who's out of his depths but knows how to put the right people in the right places most of the time. Which, I know I'm
I
getting...
mean, that's an important leadership and management skill.
Yeah, it's like a little Peter's like, oh no, he's the hero, the person who's, it's like, no, he's the general kind of wading his way through a bunch of weird bullshit and like, oh god, I hope this works. Which I really do love. Overall though, animation, what would you say on this one?
Subpar, to be honest.
Yeah, that's kind of where I felt most of the time. It's like they have some good scenes here or there, but they stand around and talk a lot.
They also very clearly, on some level, wanted to trade on fan service, and Tito kind of became like the poster girl for that, and yet was in a shockingly small amount of the actual scenes in the show.
Yeah, it almost felt like it wanted to be an ensemble story focused on one character, but once again, I can kind of understand. This is a story about a world and about how a single person moving through it affects that world.
Yeah, it kind of had a little bit of like ADD going on in terms of what genre and everything the show wanted to be, and was just kind of like constantly throwing something at the wall to see what stuck. But I mean, it was a fun ride despite that.
Yeah, this was a very... If you like the Eins und Golden syndrome, if you like the mild fan service, if you like the trashy fantasy world setting without the They didn't actually bring up skill trees or anything with that, did they? This was a true fantasy world, wasn't it?
Yeah, there weren't any like I mean there were like classes and stuff like that, but there was definitely not a stat window in sight.
Yeah, more along the lines of, oh, you've done this much stuff, so we're gonna like you'll be at this rank from now on, kind of
They did call the rank a level, but like it was clearly like achievement based assigned by the guild, not like
and the fact that like when they start fleshing this out, the first thing they show you is, oh yeah, this weak guy who doesn't quite get everything right is a level 8, and this person who was an absolute monstrosity of a um like combatant and person on the field is ranked level 2.
I think the main character does actually make like a jab at his own terrible stats at one point, and that might have been kind of the only time stats were brought up in the show. It's
Yeah.
almost like a moment of self-aware humor
Yep.
more than anything else.
Overall, though, I think this isn't a skip worthy, but this is a C tier.
Yeah, I'd say for me, probably right about there.
All right, second tier.
Yeah, not as good as Another World, but probably a little better than Wedding. Certainly kept my attention better.
Yep. All right then. Let's see what is next on our list. Unless you have anything else you want to say.
Nah, it's pretty good. Next up is Yakuza Fiance Race. This is like French at this point, I think, so I don't know how to pronounce that. Watanen Gali.
この子になら俺の人生めちゃくちゃにされたいです。
ちょっとおじいちゃん、何よこれ。
ヤクザ界に走る大激戦。
翻訳も秒読みではないか。あったことすらないんやぞ。こんなんせえへんからほっといてくれ。
とにかく一回東京行って確かめてこい。
結局来てしまった。
どうもはじめまして、三山霧島です。ありがとう。じゃあまた帰りにね。どうしたの、吉野。
よかった、普通のいい人で。ヤクザみたい。
はあ、もうダメだ、めんどくさい。吉野の取り柄ってその顔と体だろ。それ売って金にしてくれない？俺、女に嫌われてる女が好きなんだよね。思った以上に吉野が普通すぎてちょっと飽きちゃったんだよね。大阪帰る？
死ぬほど自分に惚れさせたれ。そんで1年経ったら捨てて帰ってこい。
俺はそんなもんのために命張られへん。
お前らのことメイドの道連れにして人生めちゃくちゃにしてるからな。
好きだ。
Okay. So would you like to let's state the most toxic relationship I think I've ever seen in anime.
I mean, it's the one of the main characters literally has a toxic relationship fetish that is fueling this relationship. You can't really get much more toxic than that. Well, I guess you can, because he also wants to like murder anyone who bores him. So, and I mean that literally. As a yakuza, he wants to murder anyone who doesn't entertain him enough.
Yeah, it's the show. Oh my god. Okay, but okay, so if you have a romance where the guy wants you to fucking destroy him emotionally, physically, sexually, probably, and everything else.
Sure, sexually.
And the other side of this love is somebody who is like, you know what? I'm gonna give you what you want. Oh my, this is a train. This is a train coming off the rails, loaded with dynamite and gasoline. It is a grand spectacle of a disaster, and I could not take it. It's just so goddamn good. Oh, if you could eat, as toxic as like this romance is, it's both sides are kind of evil.
Yeah, although I would say that the female lead is just kind of forced into that. She's not really given a lot of options here.
Oh,
It's pretty much either things go really terrible for her or she takes charge.
yeah, I won't argue that this is a very much of. Oh yeah, no, I know how this works. Okay, let's just fuck you up now. Okay, let's go. Let's fucking go. Um, uh, I don't want to spoil too much more, but if you're looking for a hard boiled, I think this had the mature rating on. No, this didn't have the. Weirdly enough, this one did not have. There's one of these shows had the mature rating on Crunchyroll. Yuki, do you know which one it was?
Not off the top of my head, no.
When we get there,
Trillion game, maybe?
I will tell you, but yeah, this one doesn't quite there. It should probably be. If it had a little more fan service, it definitely would be. But
I mean, okay, so it definitely had like graphic-ish depictions of oral sex and things like that. But it did it in like network TV way where like they frame the camera so it doesn't show anything but you can still tell what's going on.
no, yeah, mom.
Wow. Anyway, I was aggressively aware that this show was not my genre and not my style while I was watching it. These character designs, especially, are just really not for me. They're kind of a huge turnoff for me. But that said, I could certainly see the argument that this could maybe deserve B tier. I'll leave it to your judgment there.
That's about right. I feel like it should go. I know. Oh, I wish there was a way to define like the mature art style. I guess I would call it for anime. The generic mature
like
art style.
Seinen art style, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's very sharp, very angular for a lot of things. A little extra detail on a lot more of the faces.
High schoolers that have the bodies of supermodels.
Yeah, yeah, I won't argue that point. But overall, like this does some stuff, and once again, romance isn't generally my thing, and the fact that he was able to pull me in a bit, kind of feels like it pulls me up a bit.
That's fair. I mean, I almost wouldn't call this a romance anime. The principal leads were as much antagonists as they were romantic interests.
Yeah, that's. Hey, how many antagonists, protagonists turn into romances though?
I couldn't answer that question for you, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I just about like, but no, I think a solid B is good for that one. Very interesting on so many things. It doesn't quite land everything, but dear God, they wanted to go crazy with it, and they got the crazy right, at least.
I will certainly, if nothing else, give it credit for standing out and being something different.
She broke a bitch's face with a hairdryer. She just bought.
She also sold some of her organs.
Holy fuck. All right.
All right. Next up is I'll become a villainess that will go down in history.
Hold on. There we go.
強い彼女に憧れて容赦のない毒舌に共感した私はもし生まれ変わるなら悪役令嬢がいいと思っていたことを今思い出したここは間違いなくあのゲームの世界つまり私は悪役令嬢に転生したんだわ 今から努力して歴史に残る悪女になってみせるわ。白女試練だわ。あまりの愚かさに頭が痛くなりますわね。どう？絵に描いたような悪女でしょ。何かを試されているの。
どうなんだろうな。
全ては野望のため。さあ悪女を駆け上がっていくわよ。
Our token villainous otome game isekai trash for the season.
Yeah, which I know you generally tend to bounce off of these. I think the big
I did end up watching this one, but like in the in the background where like, I wasn't really fully paying attention to it.
yeah, this as far as villainess goes, this might be one of the most crazy protagonists we've ever seen. It's like, nah, I'm gonna be evil. One of those.
Well, that I don't know. So her whole thing is she's not actually actively evil. She's just antagonistic. Because, like,
Yeah,
if anything, at every turn, she's, overtly helping people, including the person that is supposed to be her arch rival. She just does it in a way that is
bitchy,
very. Huh?
bitchy.
I, bitchy's not even the right term. Just.
Confrontational.
Contrarian?
Like, I am here to be the counterpoint to whatever you say.
Exactly.
That being said, this was a very interesting thing. It didn't want to go over, oh, they just need to save the day, win the romance. It actually did try to delve into characters, into stories, into different people with different concepts behind, like the heroine, the villainess, all that, which were, as well as some geopolitics. It didn't do a lot, it didn't dive too deep, but everything it did wasn't incorrect, just very bare bones, I would almost want to say.
It kind of like alluded to the subjects without really going into them at all.
Yeah, so it did itself some good, it did itself some bad doing that. The fact that they gave her an eye patch and made her lose an eye through a chunk of the show was a bit of a okay.
Very tropey.
Well, it's the Japanese also being a bit apprehensive about them people losing things like that. Normally, it's the the great the badass warrior who was in a big fight or had a massive duel and lost an eye or something. Kind of seeing it like this, and just the antagonistic villainess giving up an eye.
I think it spoke to the sort of like I'm actually drawing a blank on the word at the moment, but it's often translated as like 8th grade syndrome.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, that the main character has that kind of shows through here. So and that's like maybe part of what made me stick with this one this time around is that the main character felt more like an isekai main character than an otome game genre specific main character.
Yep. Okay. With that being said, though, this is a C. This is a C at best.
Oh yeah, we're talking subpar animation and there's no real chemistry between any of the characters, even if they're supposed to be.
I did see one line you would you got a kick out of, though, wasn't it? What was it? If it was you, I could live with being locked up, or whatever that was. I remember seeing you post a little while back.
It just felt so out of place for the series.
Yep. Okay. Where would you like to put this? I kind of think mid for C at the moment.
I would probably personally put it under 365 days, but above Miss Servant.
Okay, I could see that definitely. Then fun, but whew. All right.
All right, next up is Orb on the movements of the Earth.
Oof.
この世はバカばっかりだ。でも気づいたらその先頭に僕が立ってた。禁じられた研究って一体何なんです？
この世の平穏を乱すような研究は見過ごせない。
宇宙がどういう形をしているか知っているか。
天が静止して地球が動く。
そうだ。
地動説。今から地球を動かす。
I don't know if you
This
happen to
was a
catch this
do
one.
not
Ricky.
watch for me, so I'll let you take this one.
Okay. This is the darkest show in this season. This is an absolute, not so much bloody, gory, or blatant with it, but conceptually. This is a not fantasy, not going to name any actual real places in our history, but very much based off real world history show about what the dark ages and medieval times were like, about what scientists and people who were just trying to figure out the laws of the world and the mechanics of how everything works had to go through. They so the person you saw in the opening there, minor spoilers for the show. They kill and burn him alive, or they burn him at the stake in episode 3. So all of the people you follow are dead by episode 3, nearly.
One of those.
That being said, if you like, okay, because once again, this is also that more Vinland Saga style animation. Really, like I said, I don't want to say more mature, but the more heavily lined, the more heavy detail. This is to show, a bit.
It's certainly an art style that's intended mostly to appeal to more mature audiences.
Yep.
Although I could see the argument that it feels a little bit like the Attack on Titan style / character designs.
Right, I can definitely see that too. That being said, if you're mildly curious about how they figured out astromechanics, I guess that's what it's called, the movement of the planets. Orb is very much on there. It goes to break down the science of what it takes to do that. This is well, it also happens to be a Netflix show, so we'll see if this ever gets how that goes. No dub yet for this one, surprisingly, for Netflix. Particularly pretty on top of those, but
well, it's also usually a pretty good sign that they may not continue the show.
Yeah, which is kind of the problem here. I don't want to spoil too much more on this one, but yeah, this is, if you like the darker shows, if you like a bit more grit in your anime, or if you like some historical esque dramas, yeah, I don't know if drama would be the right word, but
certainly felt like there was some drama to it.
Yeah, there definitely is. About the extremes people go and all that. This is a very good one. The other problem I'm going to have to say is this is not for everybody. This is not a overall great overall. I would say the animation was fairly decent. I have the worst eye for that, but I think I want to
From
throw
what I
this.
could tell from the preview, it looked all right.
Yeah, I want to throw this in B overall. I think if you're
Fair enough.
curious, if you like historical-esque shows, give this one a watch. If a lot of death makes you uncomfortable, and if you're a bit religious, maybe stick away from this one.
Kind of anti-religious overtones and undertones.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Yeah, that's fair for a show about science in the Middle Ages.
Not the Dark Ages.
I mean, there's a lot of overlap there, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, my bad. Different words, same time periods. All right, let us move on.
All right. Next up, the most notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan.
そういえば面白い話がある。あのオーバーデスの孫が帝都でシーカーをしているそうだ。だが彼のジョブは話術師。誰もが知る最弱のジョブだな。彼の名はノエル・ストーレン。
ノエル・ストーレン。
ノエルよ。それでもお前はシーカーを目指すのか。立てノエル。
まだまだ。その体を作るには不屈の努力が必要。
多分死ぬような努力をして覚えておけ。これが最強のシーカーになる男の顔だ。俺は話術師ノエル・ストーレン。偉大な英雄オーバーデスの意志と技を受け継ぐ者でもある。
シーカーには興味ない。僕が興味あるのは君だけ。
己を信じるその目、それを手に入れるため何を犠牲にした。その以来俺らライトニングバイトが引き受けた。
またうちの勝ち。
オーダーだ。俺は飾りだけのリーダーだけどね。
で今度は何の悪だくんだ。
じゃああんたがけじめをつける番だな。面白い。俺は最強を従い最強となる。
God
All right.
damn it, I'm an edgelord.
Yeah, this is 100% fantasy trash. You could be forgiven for thinking this is an isekai, because it certainly feels like one, but it is in fact not an isekai. If we had a trash category, this would be going straight into that bucket for sure.
Oh my god, the edgy attitude, the dark clothing, the gun, the just, hey, we're in a fantasy world. What do you have? Gun. What the fuck? I wouldn't bring it up, but the goddamn ending credits just focus on the gun as it scrolls by. It's like, what? Why is a gun get so much freaking attention?
And also, if the gun is that important and everything, and it's clearly not actually that special within the world, and it can make a character who's so weak so strong just by having it, why aren't there more of these in use?
Oh, I feel like I need an America thing for a soundboard now. But no, this is your dark fantasy trash edgelord. Ooh, I'm so much better. I'm gonna make all the idiots see how good I am. Prove them all wrong because my grandpa showed me how good he was. And you know what they called him? Over death.
Yeah, this is very like middle school power fantasy.
That being said, I fucking love this show. It's so fucking edgelord bad.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to deny that I ate it up, but Don't expect quality here. It's full of all kinds of stupid plot holes and stuff. The animation is meh at best. I'd probably put this just above villainous personally, but your call.
I can kind of see how much just of a trash fest this was. This is 2 a.m. You've done some you've been smoking with your buddies and you kind of want 3 Big Macs, maybe 2 large fries. You're not quite sure how you're going to pay for it, but god damn it, does that sound good. Okay, let's crank away the edge. Okay, Yuki, what do you got going here?
Not on stream, agent. Tying the knot with an Amagami sister is up next.
何かあったら大人の私を頼ってくれていいからね。
I am an adult.
だいたい男を居候させるだなんて私は反対だったんだ。
だからうちのこと本当の妹みたいに可愛がってくれていいんですよ。テレビアニメ「甘神さんちの縁結び」。この恋はちょっと不思議。巫女さん姉妹と紡ぐ奇跡のラブコメディ。
Alright, I'm guessing you didn't really watch this one, right?
2 episodes and then I dropped it like a hot potato.
Fair enough. Yeah, this was our very standard harem anime for the season. It was kind of aggressively okay. Again, if you can enjoy a harem anime that really contains like no actual nudity or anything for the fan service, this would be your thing. It's much deeper into that genre even than You Are Miss Servant is, because that show kind of tries to go a little bit of a different direction with things. Even though it's sort of a harem anime at its core.
Honestly, like I started watching this, my first thought was, "Oh, hey, this kind of reminds me of My Goddess."
Yeah, this definitely has those like early Oh My Goddess Tenchi kind of feels to it, like certainly carrying along that kind of thing. Not as crazy and random as those shows were. You're not going to see as much of the humor aspect of those here. But that sort of setting where it's basically a single male surrounded by females, and you know they have their pick of the litter, so to speak.
Although
is very much what the show is.
It felt like 1 tsundere and then 2 I don't want to say mildly horny, but fairly horny for the guy characters.
Kinda, yeah. You had like the tsundere, the airhead, like the big boob airhead, and then like the mischievous little sister character.
Yeah.
But again, you know, if the standard disclaimer applies, if romance and sexual tension between underage characters makes you uncomfortable, give this a wide berth.
It's a little bit better since it's like 19 to 17 at the bad end of this.
No, I think, well, the oldest one is in college. She's somewhere in the 17 to 19 range, but the youngest one is definitely 14.
Oh, I thought the oldest was like 22 or something. Jesus. Okay, yeah.
Maybe, like she's definitely, we know for sure that she's in an art college, but I can't remember her exact age.
Yeah, did you go through all of this, or?
I did watch the entire thing, yes.
Okay, I thought I heard there was a weird twist later on or something, but...
Kind of. There's certainly like a subplot that they go into involving one of the female leads. I don't want to spoil anything there, but like also don't expect any real closure from this series.
Another season or to be more aired. All right.
Or maybe just expecting you to pick up the manga. I'm not sure. I would put this probably just above Miss Servant.
Oof. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't enjoying it, but I know how hard it. I've read so many of the classics and good ones when it's like barely retreading the the waving the paved ground. It's just cannot hold my interest anymore. But
Yeah, there just wasn't really anything to elevate this one. All right. Next up, we've got the healer who is banished from his party is actually the strongest.
確かに世界は無能に厳しい。
あいつは無能のラウストなのよ。
治癒士のくせにヒールしか使えないてめえが悪いんだろ。
この欠陥治癒士。
そして無能に生きていく権利はない。
けど救いはあるんだ。僕が一度救われているからだよ。
私決めたわ。冒険者になってお兄さんとパーティーを組むの。安心してください。お兄さんは私が守ります。
君のおかげでもうしばらく冒険者を続けていけそうだ。
どう？お兄さん、私すごいでしょ。
なるせえな。まさか青い髪の少女ではないだろうな。
青い髪は唯一にして絶対の存在。
私は
Translation, they're talking about her blue hair and the significance of it.
迷宮から大量の魔獣が湧き出てくる現象なんて一つしかないでしょ。
お兄さんは私がいなくても平気なんですか？愛の巣になっちゃう。ないわね、それは。なんでですか？お前ごときが私を止められると思うのか？バカ弟子よ。
せっかくの負けんが泣いているぞ。
お前たちが負けた。
あの時は泣いてるしかなかった私。
約束した通り同じパーティーの仲間として行こう。なるせえな。
はい、お兄さん。
Yeah, as one might guess from the title, I'm quite certain this was a light novel adaptation, and again, very much feels like an isekai. You could be forgiven for mistaking it for one, even though it is technically not, and yet full of stats and things of that nature.
I'm a healer apologist. I really do hate it when shows tend to badmouth the tanks or healers for MMO style stats. When I don't know, like I forget. Oh, I think I ask this every time. But you play MMOs. Do you badmouth your healers and tanks often as the most worthless members of your party?
Very, very rarely, and very often I'm filling in as those roles, so I fully understand, how tough those are. But nonetheless, occasionally you do get people who just truly are not prepared for the role and fail it miserably.
Yeah, well, I'm more going on the point of I kind of get sick of anime. It's like, oh, the healer's the worst class. Oh, the tank's the worst. It's like, go play some fucking MMOs, you actual idiots. This show is bad. it's trash, but oh my god, is it just some worthless, time-filling garbage. The plot is semi-nonsensical.
Meandering.
It's that trailer had stuff from the opening and ending arcs. I can't remember what the freak was in the middle of it.
Oh, incidentally, both this one and Talker have the thing going on where the female protagonist or female lead is like literally throwing themselves at them sexually, and they're just straight up like, no, get out of my room.
Yeah, overall, I don't want to waste too much time on this one because this is skip is skip. I'm not gonna bother ranking these. It's well, maybe at the end. Blah. I did not.
I mean, I got some entertainment value out of it as isekai trash, but I won't claim this one has redeeming qualities.
I felt I was skipping ahead. I was just I was bored. I don't like being bored with my garbage. Like you could like McDonald's is bad food. So you could get a bad burnt stale burger too though.
It was just good enough to put on in the background while I was playing like MTG Arena.
Uh I want to throw this and skip. Yuki, do you want to try to kick it up to C?
Nah, if you want to skip, I'm reasonably comfortable with that. I have a hard time defending that one.
Yeah. Okay then.
Next up, oh, sorry, I should say the names. Demon Lord 2099.
Yay!
新たなる態度。復活の時、来たれり。最短は水底から浮き上がる感覚に近い。暗い水の底からゆっくりと浮き上がるように意識が上昇していく。そうして500年の時を経て復活した。魔王2099。
So, this is not technically an isekai in the most pedantic of senses, but the character does come into a world that is very different from the one that they remember, and in that sense, like in the looser sense, you could still categorize this one as an isekai.
It definitely has a lot of the trappings. One thing I do want to point out that if some of the comic book readers in this audience might know is the 2099, I believe, is almost in reference to Marvel's. I don't want to say legendary run, but very interesting run of their 2099 comics, which gave us, the Spider-Man Beyond style costumes, as well as the edgiest, darkest Punisher series. It's a cyberpunk dystopian Punisher. If you can fill in the blanks yourself, I think at that point. I did like the tune of, hey, what happens if a demon lord popped up in a cyberpunk dystopia? That was refreshing.
Yeah, and it had strong like influence of the like devil is a part-timer DNA, especially to the first half of this series.
I am the Dark Demon Lord. Today we'll be taking the Dark Soul. Demon Lord is a streamer. It was kind of. I'm surprised I don't see that more. Heard about a character doing that more often, but very fun ideas. Very played around with a lot of interesting concepts. Immortals. Oh my! I know I'm more the sci-fi guy here, but the cyberpunk fantasy world. I want more of this. I didn't know this was a concept I needed more of, but god damn, do I want more of. It's
I mean, and to some extent, it has kind of the like Final Fantasy VII sort of vibe to it, where it's magic based, but still like future tech.
Yep, I was almost going to say a little bit of Beyond Good and Evil as well. It kind of felt like.
Beyond Good. I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, if you don't know it, it's the in Ubisoft game that's very you know that they pull out the trailers with the pig.
Pig. No, I mean I've heard the name Beyond Good and Evil before, but I'm not familiar with the franchise.
Okay, a very dark dystopian future kind of thing, interesting again, but this. Okay, I wanted to ask, what's the animation to you on this one?
I think the animation for this one is kind of on par with Your Miss Servant in that like you have these really detailed character designs, but they tend to not move a whole lot because of the difficulty involved in animating that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. On the other hand, I loved almost. I'm sorry. The main character himself is such an enjoyable person just to follow.
Yeah, and again, you did point out he does become a streamer, so it's definitely another one of those like streamer influenced shows that we got this season.
Well, it's also like minor spoilers for the show, but our main character, like Demon Lord, and the more people that do worship him, the stronger he does get. So, followers equal power, literally.
By the way, just to throw this out there, because there is some overlap there with some of my unreleased lore, I want to be clear that the concept there I did come up with for myself before I watched this show.
Yep. Once again, we've been doing this for almost 2 years. Besides our other stuff before this, we have our lore foundations have been set. Overlap is coincidental. That being said, it's the fight scenes I would say would probably be the biggest letdowns I had for this.
It's not a battle anime by any means.
No, but it does throw in the concept here and there. It's honestly, it's like as much as it does include the cool concept, this feels like a show that makes you kind of want to think about the concepts of demon lords, the tropes, a little bit of the isekai genre. But at the same time, I don't know if it's the reverse of just putting it in a cyberpunk dystopian setting, but so much stuff in this felt fresh. So many of the characters felt kind of unique and interesting. It does do something weird with its plot where it feels like the main arc is finished 3/4 of the way through it, and then they start a second one.
Yeah. Although that's not entirely a bad thing. Like we've seen that happen occasionally. You could say that it was sort of a trend that started in a lot of ways with Sword Art Online, where you like catch the viewers off guard by kind of like finishing up the main story arc way earlier than anyone expected. So all the people who are like, oh well, we're on episode number blah blah blah. Surely no one's gonna die or nothing important's going to happen here. And it's still having that happen. Um, but I feel like it was decently executed here. Like
Not
it wasn't bad to go into that second arc necessarily.
It just threw you off a bit.
Yeah. It did have the problem of making both arcs feel a little bit more rushed, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the one thing I did kind of like is stories with immortals can be very interesting because you can kind of ignore it or focus on it. This tries to do a little bit of both. While a bunch of our main characters are immortals who have lived for amounts of time, you do also get to see someone who was mortal to start with and has now had to live an immortal life and how that can break them, and a little bit of the not the contradiction, but the juxtaposition between them and our main character is interesting, and to see how immortals kind of they go a little crazy. It's like you're not getting around that when you live this long. You fill it with a hobby.
Well, and that and how they react to how much the world has changed around them.
Yeah, it's either you fall into despair or you take it in stride and move on with your life.
Not only that, but this one does something that most other series don't really do, which is touching on how the changing world has its perceptions change of the immortals. Oftentimes, the immortals are either just kind of like accepted as being there or are unknown to society. But in this one, that's an active part of the plot.
it doesn't go too deep into those kind of weird social issues, which a show titled Demon Lord 2099, not the best place to go into the deep end on that one, but wading through some of the shallows isn't too bad, especially since that kind of stuff does need to be brought up every so often.
You could say it touches on it in much the same level that Final Fantasy VII touches on its subject matter. In fact, there's even a very direct, literal parallel between the two. Mako Furnace.
I was wondering if you're gonna bring that one up, but okay. Here's the problem I have. It's this speaks to me on several levels. I am the target audience. I want to put this in B. I could see this being C though. What would
Honestly, I'd say at least B. If anything, my consideration is it worth A. Um, but again, I know I'm biased as well, which is why I'm tending to push it more towards the B level myself.
Yeah, just because I know this is a bit trashy. This is a bit. They did an Oni, maid They had an Oni at a maid cafe as a waitress. Everything that entails, not the sexy Oni. I mean, like Oni, mythical beast, dark monster, and I loved it. This show knows what it is, but at the same time, it's also a bit of trash. But it's well written. It's fun. Animation is serviceable on most levels. There was nothing that was like, oh, yeah, that looks horrible.
That said, it does get the standard disclaimer warning for like extended bath scene involving a like 3,000-year-old immortal and a high school girl.
Yeah. Oh, okay, a little piece of me really does want to waggle my finger at that, but the main character is one of the most asexual protagonists. Not that he doesn't get it, he doesn't care. It's like, oh, boobs, meh.
That is absolutely fair. Like, okay, the female character in the scene is definitely, at least at some point, viewing it as like more of a sexual thing, but ultimately kind of comes around, notably in like the body language and everything, to seeing it more from the male character's perspective, and realizing that, like, in this context, it's quote unquote just nudity.
Yep.
So take that as you will.
Yep, it's interesting. I like seeing characters that are very much a oh, naked woman. That's funny. I kind of enjoy this sometimes, but it's like, you're also bathing. I don't care. It's not that it doesn't get it, that doesn't matter to them.
He's far too much of a narcissist to let someone else's nudity get him any kind of bother.
I'm just so happy. It's like, oh, hey, you walked in on you walked in on me in the bath. Oh no, I'm going to throw stuff at you because, oh no, you've seen me. It's like, no, you walked in on me. Would you like to come in? I don't really care. All right, I don't care.
Yeah, it definitely turns that trope on its head.
It's all right. I'll have things to say about that trope later, but we'll get there when we get there.
All right.
I'll say top of B. I don't think anything in the B category is going to top that for me, possibly,
Yeah.
but I don't see A. There's too much of the baked in genre loved in that to really separate that for me.
Fair enough. But also, that's a good acid test for us that kind of proves it belongs in B and not C.
Yep. All right. What do we have on the docket here?
Next up is Goodbye Dragon Life.
大陸アークレスト王国北方の辺境にある小さな村ベルン。
God, this really was the season of the trash fantasy, wasn't it?
何の因果か人として生を受けた場所だ。
And here you remove the trash category.
ばかりだ。
この村のこと
I seem to distinctly remember something about there not being enough trash anime to
こ
warrant
の
it.
村の食べ物は何にしても美味しいから喜んでいただくよ。トランさんは薬草の目利きもいいし、あとかっこいいし。トランさん、そろそろ帰りましょうよ。そのまま姿勢を崩さず体幹を意識しろ。私がトランさんと一緒に森へ行きます。トランさん、いいですよね。
調査は私とセリナに任せてほしい。怪我一つ負わずに帰ってくる。約束しよう。ベルン村へようこそ。
Yuki, I like milk.
Yeah. It is delicious fresh milk. Available in copious quantities.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is a I will not explain that joke. If Yuki wants to, she can. I will not.
Nope. You'll have to watch the show if you want the explanation on that.
Okay, this is trash fantasy. It knows it though. Oh, I didn't want to quite put that there. It knows it though. It knows exactly what it is. It comes out and tells you that. As much as it's trash, I would almost say this is Slice of Life doesn't quite want to cover that, but comfy.
Yeah, like comfy, cozy. Like part of it's almost kind of a healing anime. I would say it's probably right above Talker in terms of ranking, but like also unabashedly, this is below the surface a harem anime, where even and
Below the
spoilers
surface.
here, but even the big bad ultimately is just kind of like tsundere for the main character.
Impale me upon your great sword. Yeah, this is a fun show. The animation is
Definitely subpar.
The character designs are fairly interesting. I'll give them that. Very cool concepts here and there. I'll definitely say that much, especially for some of the later creatures that pop up.
Yeah, and fortunately they did mostly manage to stay away from like terrible CG, although
Ants.
there were like reoccurring demon dog things that were
Ants.
awful. Yeah.
Ants. Oh god, the ants. Overall though, we got another cute Lamia girl. We got goth Rose spirit girl. We got silver-haired heroine girl. And a couple of
You got
minotaurs.
Sexy demon demi-goddess.
All right. Yep. That's gonna be there. If you like trashy fantasy, this is probably the good boilerplate for you. It's very fun. There's nothing overtly offensive. A few things weird. I'll say that a few things weird, but done in the service of creative world building, I would say.
Yeah, there's a few things that are thrown in that aren't quite for that purpose, but like, how can I put this? There, a this isn't the kind of show that needs a warning for this kind of content so much as like there is in the natural order of things occasionally going to be an underage character that has a crush on an older character and has that kind of like someday when I'm older we'll get married fantasy going on, and this show has that kind of thing happening in it.
Yeah. But middle of, I don't know, it's kind of working its way up to the upper tiers of C at the moment, which, C is getting a little full. All right, what do we have on the next docket list, Yuki?
Next up is Suma Show.
10年前確かに私は一度事故で死んだわ。でももうそういう細かいことはどうだっていいじゃない。なんで小学生の姿になって帰ってきたのかとかさ。あんたたちとこうしてまた家族やれてるんだから。
戻ってきてくれて本当に。
マイ高え。
マイが泣くから。
我慢することじゃないだろ。
新島さん、娘さん転職されたんですね。
ああ、もう一度挑戦したいと言ってね。
素敵ですね。
あいつが帰ってくるんじゃないかって釣りをしながら待ってるだけ。
そういう部分は妻に似たんだろうな。
本当に私が好きね。生まれ変わったことにどんな意味があるかはわからない。でもわがままを言ってもいいじゃない。
そんなことでいちいち腹を立ててたら回覧板回してもらえなくなっちゃうわよ。だって今私小学生なんだから。
どこ行ってたの？ただじゃおかないから。
だからこのままうちに。
新島孝恵にとって正解でも白石まりかとしては正解じゃない。
すごい熱だ。また家族で見られるんだな。俺たちは運命の糸で結ばれてるんだから。
外でそんな話しない。やっぱあんのよね、大切なものって。テレビアニメ「妻小学生になる」。ちょっとあんた何泣いてんのよ、恥ずかしい。吹きなさい。
はい。
10月6日放送開始。
Alright, do you have anything to say about this one before I launch into it?
Yeah, I did want to start on something like that. This show is in the wrong type of category to be told in. We were going over this before with the last episode of you just kind of expect to see some younger aged people in stuff that really isn't suitable for a lot of modern taste, especially a lot of Western modern tastes. And this show just happens to open with blowing both barrels right out of the gate on that one. Yuki, would you like to go into anything more on that, or would you like to dig right in?
Well, so okay, here's the thing. With a show, and I mean, we didn't really give the original title of. Okay, this is the official title of the show on Crunchyroll, a Suma Show. But the translated complete title is something like "My wife is an elementary schooler." And for a show with a title like that in anime, there's usually a certain expectation that would come slapped with a huge content warning from us about, like, underage sexual content with minors and stuff like that. I wanted very badly to finish the show before we did the stream. It was something I was hoping to power through today, and just kind of kept getting interrupted. But what I will say is, having watched up through about episode 7, this show gets almost every other content warning so far that from what I can see, except for that one. This is a show that deals with heavy themes of loss. This is a show that deals with child abuse, neglect, and physical, both physical and verbal and emotional child abuse. And because of that, depending on your personal life experiences, this show could potentially be extremely triggering, and is regardless a very tough watch. That's not to say it's bad. It treats a lot of these subject matters with a lot of maturity, and thoughtfulness. For like, it uses the situation that it gives you as a literary framing device to kind of look at these as a lens, but that doesn't make it easier to be the audience for it. Um,
Yeah, and once again, it's the fact that this is being done in anime, uh, not a genre, but a telling style that's very hey there. I don't know how to pronounce that. Joe Pro?
AJ05 Pro 123. Hi, AJ.
AJ, all right, welcome. We are at a very touchy and odd subject at the moment. Overall though, this one, I hear it does good things. I keep hearing that it's just, once again, anime was the wrong choice to tell this story in. Wrong format.
I don't know about that necessarily. Like I'm a strong proponent that anime can tell very powerful and emotional stories, and that it can analyze really deep and difficult subject matter. If you've ever watched Monster, for instance.
Oh yeah, I won't argue that point. I won't disagree on any of that scale. It's it's throwing.
It's the framing, I think. Like the way this was marketed gave the audience an expectation that the show does not at all match. Punto. Yes, Agent was a big fan of that in the previous season, as I recall.
Oh yeah, I think that one might have gotten an S ranking. I do believe. I don't.
It was probably at least somewhere in the A to S tier. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Monster.
Yeah. Same creator, as I recall.
Yep. This, like I said, that's the problem. It's they market it to the I don't want to just say sleazy kind of person, but that's the problem. It's anime has this expectation, it has these tropes common, and when you show a show like this, you have to be
conscious of those tropes when you're designing and marketing something.
And I think that's where this show failed the most. Because of that, I could not get behind it. It didn't help much that it was already not my genre. Yuki, where do you think this one goes?
This one's so hard for me because really it was such a difficult watch for me to get through as much of it as I did. Like I probably would have burned through this a lot faster if it hadn't been so emotionally chewy, so to speak. But also because of that, I feel like the show deserves respect for tackling these subjects and doing it in a way that is mature enough that I feel like if someone is in the right place to be tackling their history with some of these kinds of problems, then this is the sort of show that may actually help them in working through that a little bit. And so because of that, I'm inclined to put it at least kind of on the low end of B.
I can definitely see that. Like I said, the problem is not my genre and bad opening.
It really, really poorly marketed and just a very difficult watch, but not actually a bad show. Just so tough to get into.
Yeah, and we don't really want to go too deep on spoilers, which unfortunately I feel like is a lot of what talking about that show would be.
For sure.
All right, what do we have on the docket?
Next up we have Negative Positive Angler. Unfortunate that it's opened with a shot of the fish.
で来たと思ったらぐっと軽く後ろに引く
今あった。
Ugh.
魚の走る方向と逆に竿を立てて疲れさせながら引き寄せる。
やった。一匹目。ねえ。
I don't disagree, however, it will not be making this list because Shangri-La Frontier is an ongoing show and we're only touching on new shows for this season here.
Yep, I believe that would be I do have an archive if you are following. That would be under our spring tier list, I believe.
Possibly? I don't recall off the top of my head.
ありがとう。でも大丈夫。
うわあ、これは別に悪気があって掴んだわけじゃなくて、いや、ごめんなさい、わざとじゃ。
暴れ回りやがって。こいつは絶対。
Well, AJ, you have the same trash taste we do. Yep, we did go through that one. We did like it. And dear God, what is this trailer?
Incidentally, this trailer is called Fish Want Me, I Fear Women.
すげえ。こんな細い竿と糸なのに、あんなに大きい魚と渡り。
I don't know why this is the only official Crunchyroll trailer available for this show at the moment. At least that I could find on YouTube.
結構難しい。
落ち着いて。ゆっくり。
やった。
You know when you're fishing with a woman and you just get wet stuff all over your face?
時間までまだまだ釣るぞ。
Okay, what was this? Something angling?
Negative positive angler.
Yeah, okay, so this is the most depressing opening out of any show this season.
Yeah, this one definitely starts off really rough. And this is another one that touches on a lot of like really rough emotional topics.
Oh, let's see. Let's go through the first 5 minutes of this character's arc. In debt to loan sharks, brain cancer, and his house gets demolished. I believe that all happened within the first 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Definitely has some really, really awful luck there. And this series is really less about fishing and more about kind of not found family exactly, although there's an element of that to it, but like finding community and connecting with people by way of a shared special interest or hobby. And I feel like that's kind of well, I should say, and then utilizing that to help you overcome and stand up to the difficulties that life throws at you and the trauma that you experience and kind of use that as a foundation to become a better person and to be able to cope with life. And I feel like that's kind of a powerful thing. In that sense, it's very much kind of a healing anime as well.
Yeah. AJ, yeah, we have Notorious Talker in the middle of our C rank. Like I understand how much you love the can love the edgy trashiness of it, but it's a bit of edgy trash. It's a bit garbage. But negative.
Not to say we don't love it, but objectively, it's not super high ranking.
Yeah. Angler though, this I enjoyed the fishing, but this was too depressing for me. like the normal points where I tried watching this, I could not tune it on for too long. It just, oh my god, was it dark? Did it get dark? And oof.
Yeah, it was definitely a real struggle for the main character throughout, but it does end on a more positive note than it starts on. So there is that.
I don't know how you could end on a darker note. It's like you're at the end of your rope.
Well, you could have fallen off the end of it.
He tried.
Yeah.
Overall though, animation.
That said, yes, content warning here for like themes of self-destructiveness and possibly even like unaliving yourself kind of thoughts and behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. Negative, positive. Angler, you were a dark one, but if
I will say, yeah, animation-wise, since you were touching on that, animation on this is actually really, really good, except for the fish. I kind of feel like the fish were like something they had intended to animate over, and then ran out of time or something.
it feels like pro bass fisher.
Yeah, everything else though, like the water effects are really pretty. Yeah, Demon Lord Retry you can see up there on the B tier of the list. Definitely a very solid show. But again, probably not super appealing to people outside of that genre for the most part.
Wait, have we gotten Demon Lord Retry yet?
Well, I think they mean Demon Lord 2099, unless that was a separate show that I'm forgetting about.
I think there is a Demon Lord Retry on our list
Oh,
here.
yeah, I think there was a Demon Lord Retry that was a different season, though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you are right. That's you know, you are right. Like what? Yeah, dude, I know what you're talking. I remember that one. Wait, you, AJ, have you watched? Okay, I enjoyed season 1 of that. Season 2, episode 1. Yeah, you like what you like, but I'm not going to defend season 2 on that. That was kind of bad, in my opinion. But negative, positive, angler. Where do you want to put it?
Trash, yeah. Season or is that negative, positive, angler? Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with putting it near the bottom end of B.
B, you mean?
It's yeah. I thought that's what I said. I could be wrong.
I heard E. I was just like, what?
E. Near the bottom end of that E category we don't have, yeah. Yeah, no, near the bottom end of B, I think makes a lot of sense. It definitely has some very pretty animation to it. It has some really good character chemistry, and I really like what they were going for with it. But it can be a little bit of a harder watch, and if fishing is super ultra boring to you, it is used as like the skin for this show, so that could be a turnoff for a lot of people.
Yeah, but hey, there's probably some more stuff in the back end of this that you will like. We just have to get to it still. But you know that do we have on the next? What is our next show, Yuki?
Next up is the Do-Over Damsel Conquers the Dragon Emperor.
この化け物め
化け物僕が化け物ならお前らは何だ国や民を理由に僕を亡き者にしようとするお前らの方がよっぽど化け物じゃないか処刑されるのは僕じゃない
I apologize if this is a little bit spoiler heavy for a trailer.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that.
This is an official Crunchyroll trailer.
Well, I've got a fairly good idea why they wanted to put this here.
Yeah?
僕が何をしたんだ勝手に遠ざけ呪いだなんだと都合の悪いことだけ僕のせいにする生まれてこなければよかったのはお前らの方だ僕じゃない殺してやる全員だ
うすればこのままじゃ陛下が
生まれたことを後悔させてやる。僕がそうされたように。
私が陛下の子供を10人産みます。
10。
私が陛下の子供を産みます。10人任せてください。うちは多産の家系ですから。私も7人兄弟ですし、姉なんてもう3人子供を産んでます。
Okay, pause that before we get any spoilery on that, because yeah, I know it's. AJ, welcome to the most tone-deaf show I have ever watched. We have been doing this 2 years now. Every new show, every season. Dear Mother of God, does this show just manage to slap me in the face, going from "we are Dark Souls serious, I'll kill them all, I'll kill them." Okay, 10-year kids. Eh? Yeah. Definitely. Like I have 7 sisters. We can do this.
I will throw out there that context-wise, this is the sort of show that is taking place in the kind of medieval setting where, especially for royalty, it was very much expected that by around 12 to 14 you would be married off.
I mean, again, to hold it against the show, she is a 10 right there. Maybe 11.
I think she was actually a little older than that. The requirement was she had to be under 14.
Yeah, no. The only reason I'm saying that is it's a plot point that her birthday was like in this time period, so she went from being 10 to 11. That being said, this is a regression show technically. So
well, it's a time slip show.
Isn't that what regression shows are categorized as?
Not necessarily. It could be the kind of show where the character has physically regressed in age while the rest of everything else stayed in the current time period.
Oh, I refer to regression as something happens to the character, they die or something else like that, and then they're restart from a young age. I know this is more popular in Manhwa and Chinese series, but it is a genre.
Yeah, it's sort of like pseudo reincarnation sort of thing.
Yeah, a do-over, if you will.
Yes. We saw something very similar a while back with now I'm drawing a blank on the name of that show, even though I really liked it.
It's the semi-isekai one where the guy's like, "Oh, I'm stuck at it's level 2 mage. Now we have to go through magic school."
It wasn't even the one I was thinking of, but that just proves that it's definitely a trope.
It's a genre at this point. Trust me. It's like it's they're coming down the pipeline, but a regression genre to be coming in en masse. Okay, I wanted to ask you about the animation on this one, because this feels like it jumps from cartoonishly comical to, I swear to God, that chicken is going to start in his own anime next season.
Regret watching the most. I'll have to think about that. On the current topic, since I was just asked about the animation quality, I'd say this is kind of like mid-tier animation. There's certainly nothing to write home about here, but it's not aggressively terrible either. We're not seeing tons of like really bad CG or anything like that. It certainly has a lot of stylistic changes to it that happen very frequently, which help keep it visually interesting, and I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. As for show I regret watching the most, I only remember the anger it set in me, but there is Redo Healer.
That's a respectable choice for that.
Yeah, I won't argue that one. There is a show about a Power Ranger team policing cryptids and other paranormal activity while also trying to fight. I'm sorry. This show just infuriates me for like untold reasons. I don't know why. I don't know why this show makes me so like we watch garbage.
Well, I know why. It's because you wanted it so badly to be good, and then it wasn't.
But the do-over, it's like okay, like once again, it's you have to get around of well, what was the actual line? It's like if you were even younger, I would have liked it better, so I could have raised you properly to be my wife.
Yeah.
It's like okay, that's weird and creepy, but unfortunately, in the context of the show, it technically checks out, which I don't know. It feels like they kind of wanted to do the young bride, older groom kind of story, but wanted to make it so okay, but like all this stuff checks out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit less of like a thinly veiled thing than it usually is, and more of like this is actually kind of critical to the world building.
Yep.
So I'll give it that, but
AJ, we go through every show every season. We will go through a
or at
lot of
least
weird
we
stuff.
give it the darndest try.
The heavier seasons kill us some days, times, but oh my dear mother of God. Okay. That does do that. They do a lot of interesting storytelling with the world building that I was worried was going to feel like, oh, this is the reason they have to, it's like, do this, but turn does come out to be really well done. And I did like a lot of the concepts they did toy with. It's trash. There is.
I would still say it's definitely not above a C tier. It's probably somewhere in the middle of that C rank list.
Okay. It's like once again, this is when I say tone deaf. I think I was watching Zero Punctuation or Totally or Ramblematic nowadays when Yahtzee was pointing out, Sonic getting dark and depressing and very real does feels a little off. This show, if that opening trailer didn't give you any hints, this show bounces between deadly serious and comically funny on the flip of a goddamn coin. Sometimes back and forth even. Oh, I want to put this higher up because of how entertaining it is, but what do you think? Below or above Wedding?
Rewind? I can't say I've heard of that one. I would say probably it ranks somewhere right around the dragon one.
I want to put this above it. Like I almost want to put this above Wedding, but I can understand that. Wisteria 1 I believe is that one of the ones coming out soon? It rings a bell. I just can't place it. AJ, if you would like to get a better description of that one, we will start up with the next trailer, I think.
Before I do that, I just wanted to touch on that question that AJ asked real quick. Yes, okay. There is exactly one anime that I have ever given a 1 to on my anime list. And it is called Hime-chen Otogi Chiku Idol Lil Pri. It honestly is so terrible that I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, if you want to call it the all-time worst anime we've ever watched, Mirage of Blaze for me.
I feel like there was one that I kind of aggressively hated even more than that, but wow, yeah, I've given a lot more low scores than I remember.
You watch just shows to go. The actual don't care about bad shows tend not to stick around in your mind's
Yeah, that is true.
Oh,
all right. Well, I won't dwell on that too much. Oops. Here we go. Next up is Mecha Ude Mechanical Arms.
Oh, you're glitching out on my side pretty bad here. Can you restart, Yuki?
Oh, sure. Restarting?
Oop, hold on. There we go.
Got it?
鳥がそれを手にした人間は最強の肉体を得るという。
I'm getting a lot of lag off this one.
そのトリガーアームの力をよ。
お前、アームズの黒金の草案使い。私はこっちだ。こっちだ。
Oh, this is this buggy on your side too, or is this just the Discord screwing up for me?
No, it seems to be okay on my end.
俺は光だ。天津が光る。
お前らメーカーでは所詮俺たち人間の道具に過ぎないんだよ。
我々は君たちの敵ではない。必要なのはアルマの力だ。
Yeah, I'm getting some bad network conditions here.
Uh-oh.
お前みたいなヘラヘラ生きとるやつには何も変えられない。何もできない。
俺には何もできねえよ。俺一人じゃな。
少年、前へ進め。君となら何とかなる気がするんだ。行くぞ、光る。
Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining.
アームの力。
Yep. Hello, my Max Zip Tyke like 34.
Oops.
Yep. Okay. One thing I do want to say right off the bat with this one before we dig too much into it, this was a Kickstarter startup for a show to produce a pilot to get started into a new studio to make their first anime. Almost everything in this is a fresh team, a fresh director. So much was made on a wish and a prayer, and they goddamn landed it, in my opinion.
It looks like I've lost the stream from your side, Agent.
Okay, let me see if I can.
Oh, okay, it's back.
Okay, yeah, we're experiencing some minor technical difficulties. Sorry about that, everybody. But all right. Also, Max, how would you like us to pronounce your name?
Context to it, but...
Yeah, no, we will probably be getting to the S here on that. You tend to be a bit more of the animation side of it. What would you think on this?
I think it definitely had some really good like dynamic shots. Welcome, Mixie. Nice to meet
Mixie,
you.
all right, thank you.
And it definitely felt very reminiscent of like old school Studio Trigger, Gainax kind of stuff in a lot of senses. The mechanical arms themselves could have been a bit more polished. They're not painful to look at, but they're definitely very obviously CGI in a way that doesn't necessarily composite all that super well into the environment all of the time. That's probably my biggest nitpick there. But nonetheless, it's not bad overall, especially for like a first try out of a brand new team, animation wise. Like I could see how if they actually had more budget than just like what they get off of a Kickstarter and were, you know, not as pressed for time, they could have done something even more impressive.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal first outing. What would you say? This is the first season of an entire shonen crammed into 12 episodes. But
yeah, something like that. And in true like Gainax sort of tradition, they have like sort of a space thing going on at one point and everything too. You know, this show gave me a lot of like Transformers vibes, I will say.
It's a massive Transformers nerd. I'm kind of curious as to In what way on that one? The kind of aliens coming down and fish out of watering slightly onto Earth, or
Mechanical alien life forms, yeah, doing what you described, but also having this like kind of doomed home world that they're hoping to somehow like resurrect or carry on.
if I can kind of see that. Overall, though,
It's that it feels like it's targeted at that kind of age group. Like the show almost feels like it was intended to market to a toy line that will never exist in all likelihood.
I can absolutely see that. Where it really does shine for me though is everybody is a bit tropey, but they also feel like more real people than just that. Everyone has this little bits of awkwardness, or I have all this power now, I will crush you, and oh my god, these things suck up a lot of my energy. But
I'll say that I enjoyed the random like fan shipper girl who kept showing up and like insisting on there being this like yaoi relationship between the protagonist and the what is the antagonist for most of the show.
I would say rival, honestly. It's like he's clearly supposed to be like the dark rival who eventually turns and joins you to help fight the big. It's like I could point to every trope and every character they were doing in this, but at the same point, there was enough nuance to everybody. No, not
Oh
her.
no, we're not talking about the female lead. We're talking about the main character and the male character that's the younger brother from the company.
The tsundere coded green haired boy.
Yeah, that's who we're referring to.
Yep. He was very. He was a goddamn tsundere rival. I'm sorry. It's like I was getting tired of the tsundere archetype for a while there, but now I'm seeing it as the rival pop up more and more, and I'm kind of falling in love with it again.
It's not like I want to save your life or anything.
Baka. It's just like, oh my god.
I'm not totally sure that I personally would put this show quite at S. To me, it falls more comfortably into the A rank, but I won't fight too hard against it being put in the S tier. My only real complaint is that it could have been better than it was, and that it doesn't feel like it's quite on the same level as something like Dan to Dan.
Once again, I won't argue that Down Don is the standout show this season. It's the fact that this was a Kickstarter startup into a new studio, into a full production, and it slapped this good. They managed to take so many classic tropes and write such a good story. If this studio can tune it up just a little bit more, we're gonna have a.
I'll also acknowledge that this sort of shonen isn't really exactly my genre, so I could be underrating the show a little.
Yeah, I think I do have to agree with all of our chat here. Like, this does feel like a solid S to me. Like, it's, I wouldn't say solid. This is a shaky S. It has enough going for it, especially since the Japanese economy and industry generally doesn't look too kindly on weird Kickstarters or stuff like this, and doing all of that in this flooded market and then doing it so well. You can feel the passion and the love behind the craft in this show, and I really do have to give it that.
I'm okay with giving it a little extra credit and boosting it up based on that kind of thing.
Okay, then let's head to our next show. What do we have on the docket here?
Next up. Oh, I have not watched The Fable.
I'm not even sure what that is.
It looks kind of monster-esque from when I looked up the cover art just now, but that's all I could check. Next up is Nina the Starry Bride.
黎明の青まっすぐなその瞳が見てるのは これよりお前はこの国の姫巫女アリシャになり変わる。それがお前の役目だ。
俺そんなアリシャってやつに似てるのか？
似てるのはその瞳の色だけだ。何度言えばわかるんだ。
君耳いっぺんにいろいろ言われたって覚えられるもんか。姉上、僕は次期王だぞ。
アズーだと。
アズール様にそのような口を聞けるのはあなただけです。
この国のためにお前の協力が必要なのだ。
金色の目、獣の目の色だ。
ちゃんと腕を首に回せ。
あったかい。うわなんだこれ。なんか恥ずかしい。ちゃんと私を知ってくれてる人がいる。
殺す目的で身代わりを立てた。お前はただ一人だ。
一緒にいたい。神様に嘘をつく。きっと天罰が下る。それでもいい。星の下なんかじゃない。
Definitely seems out. Sounds like it's up Agent's alley.
I believe actually that was on our last season. Either
私はアリシャです。
it was either summer or spring, but that we have covered that one.
Ah, okay.
It was
I
in
think probably I skipped it.
it was in Hulu jail if I remember correctly, and we kind of both had a hard time getting into it.
Ah, that could be it.
ああ、これは勝負だ。
何なんだこの姫は。ニナ、待ってろって言ったよな。
これはもう俺のものだ。
ニナ。
I do not remember what we rated Fable, but we did cover that last season. As for this show, I thought I would like it. I got to episode 3 and then started skipping through episodes bit by bit.
Yeah, I only made it a little more than halfway through this one. It was kind of boring to me, to be honest, but I felt like it's not that it was a terrible show, it was just too far outside my genre. Objectively, it's probably like a mid-grade C show, maybe low-end C show.
But we do great on some of a curb, and you have to go against its competition. And as for mid-grade fantasy romances this season, or just romances in general, it had some stiff competition. I want to throw this into the skip because I think both of us ended up trying and dropping on this one. And
Yeah, for me personally, it's definitely a skip. I think if this sort of thing is your genre, you'll probably like it, but it's definitely targeted at a very specific audience that is a little bit niche. And if you're not a member of that audience, you're probably not going to connect much with this show.
I don't even know what that is. This is a semi-dark fantasy. I don't know, is this even fantasy? I think it was just historical-esque.
Quasi-historical. I mean, you could say that it's like low fantasy.
Yeah, I guess at that end, but I remember trying to figure out what era or setting this. I don't know. It's the more and more I looked at this, the more and more I just stuff in the cracks I did not like. There was nothing to ground it, nothing to pull me in other than semi-cute girl trying to not die through lie.
It's because what it really is a romance novel, and it's targeted at the romance novel demographic.
Yeah, I really do guess, but
it absolutely is that.
But there's so much separate. There's some odd things on this one. I would
They
say
could have made it a lot less dark if that was their only goal, but
I think it just hit too many wrong notes on this one. But all right, I don't like spending too much time on the skips. What do we have on the next on the docket, Yuki?
next up is Magiluminaire Magical Girls Inc.
でっけえことはいいことだ。でっけえ退治は金になる。
魔法少女子供の頃一度は憧れる現実の職業役にはいこのお金の重さは人の命に関わる責任の重さなんだコスプレおっさん社長何待って待って待って待ってなんだこの濃い熱
君も望めば今日から魔法少女なんだよ。
ここでは私は世界から必要とされるんだ
現場を見る前に退治方法を判断するのは
Hold on, hold on, AJ.
美学何この状況越谷さんこの商店街かなり古いです
そうだ、建物も
歴史ある商店街の景観は美学仕事って美学のためにやるのかなまた的外れなことを言っちゃう気がしてもっと建設的な議論を
かなち、うちがそんなの笑うような会社だと思うか。
心配いらんぞ。うちはベンチャーだ。魔法がなければ作る。
魔力パターン組みました。攻撃の幅と連動させます。オーダーメイドだ。業務実行。
新人を信じなくてベンチャーは名乗れん。
私は役に立てる
チュールのような薄さと透け感が気に入っていた。
大人っぽいくすみピンクもいいですよね。
うん、わかる。
女子校
Yeah, by that final little logo there, this is a Prime anime. I think this was the only Prime anime this season. Can't remember if there was a second
which
one.
is definitely one of those things where I just never got around to even opening that app to watch anime.
All right, so I can do some lifting here. Okay, everybody, this is okay. First and foremost, one, this is a magical girl show, which if you can bounce off that, no problem there. This is also a corporate magical girl show, so remove the outfits, remove the or no, the outfits. So keep the outfits. Everybody's wearing the outfits. Even the guys are wearing the outfits here.
It's that kind of outfit.
Yeah.
Everyone wears the outfit in this outfit.
Oh, come on. We know you would. If you could dress as a magical girl to work, you would.
I mean, I'm almost dressed as a magical girl right now.
Yeah. Okay. This, while it does have a lot of that fun, it also goes into the corporate side of doing interviews, being in a corporation, especially being in a smaller startup corporation comparative to larger, bigger businesses. Honestly, if you wanted a magical girl show delving into corporate hierarchy and the tradings of big businesses to small companies and what it means to be a new employee in the year 2024, just getting into the job market. I don't know why this is for you, but here you go. Overall, though, this show, where did I put you? There you are. Isn't bad.
It certainly looked interesting to me. I just didn't get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, the problem is the monsters are CGI monsters, so
Oh no.
if you either love that or you hate that, they are trying to go for uncanny blobs of magical energy with some kind of aesthetic tied to them. So that's passable. On the other hand, I also think Transformers Beast Wars, a 2000 CGI anime, looks okay. So keep that in mind.
Among the earliest CGI TV shows.
The third. It is literally the freaking third.
And from the same company that did the first one, Reboot.
And the second, Shadow Raiders.
That's entirely possible. DC has definitely been pushing with that.
I'm loving what James Gunn's got coming. Okay, the biggest issue I'm going to have here is C or B. A little piece of me wants to throw this into B just from how well done it is and how more adult it kind of, I don't want to say adult as in that just makes it good, but a little more serious it takes itself. I feel like bottom of B is where this one kind of is going to sit for me.
Fair enough.
If you got nothing more, I think we can pass on that.
I think this is probably a good time for us to take a quick break, though, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yep. You want to take a 5-minute bio?
Yeah, if everyone doesn't mind, and we'll be back shortly.
All right, everybody, take 5, and we will be right back to round out this list. We still have quite a few to get through. All right, welcome back, everybody. I believe we were going to kick it off with another trailer next.
Next series on the list.
Yep. No. taking a second
Yep,
to get
let me
back.
just find where that is on my...
The mini tabs of the snap.
This isn't even that. This is just like in my sources what I need to have showing at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually need to make another scene for my for these shows, honestly. Wait, what are we watching?
Sorry. Next up is How I Attended an All-Guys Mixer. This was one of our 2 High Dive originals this season.
Was there a little more on that one, or is that just trailers in the back end there?
I think it's just like...
Oh, yeah, High Dive,
yeah.
Yep. Short one. Honestly, if I had to pick the funniest romance this season, this might be it, just from all the gay panic.
It is absolutely trading on gay panic, for sure.
So if some of you are familiar with the concept of drag queens, I believe the concept for this one would be drag kings.
Correct, yes.
So a what would you say, a bishi bar, come to watch,
a host bar.
A host bar centered around hot, androgynous, feminine, maybe looking men, basically hot guys.
Shonen style guys, yeah.
Yep. So all of the main female interests are this type. Basically, they couldn't get enough hot guys, so they dressed up a bunch of women who could pass as guys. So
I'm not even sure it's that, actually, because they exclusively have women dressed as guys that they're marketing to the public as hosts. So it seems to actually be the secret theme of the bar.
I mean, I can buy that. Overall, I didn't finish this one mostly because it kind of got lost in the shuffle, and while it was entertaining, it wasn't my thing. I did enjoy everything I watched of it, though. It's the different archetypes, the different tropes playing off each other. There was just so much to enjoy here.
Now, the fact that this is ostensibly a romance anime that Agent was interested in, I think, says a lot. It definitely did a decent job of keeping my attention. I definitely kept up with this one. I won't say that it's the best representation possible out there, but it is interesting that we're getting some of that type of representation, and that the female characters in it were not at all ashamed of what they were doing, and in fact had a tendency to continue dressing in drag even outside of their workplace. So that is very unusual in anime. And I'm a proponent of giving things credit for being at least vaguely passable-ish representation where there is no alternative. So, I mean, it definitely wasn't something that'll probably catch a lot of people from outside their genre. I would say this is at best like on the high C, low B scale. But it wasn't a bad show, and if it sounds of interest to you, then it probably absolutely will be. And if it sounds like it's totally not your thing, then it probably absolutely won't be your thing.
Like I said, I could see this B. I could also see this at the top of C. What You're better at making these calls on this genre than I am. What would you say, Yuki?
I'd say it's probably not really better than anything that we have in B, and it doesn't really have all that much substance to it. it's basically just a comedy romance that trades on gay panic. So I can't really justify giving it more than a high C, I don't think.
Okay, I can throw this at because that's about where I am. It's like it's on that line to C to B for me. I can throw this at the top of C.
I'm pretty comfortable with that, yeah.
All right, on to the next showing.
Yep. Next up, we have Aoi no Miboru, the Blue Wolves of Mibu.
江戸から老子組が大勢来たのは知ってるかい？せやけど一部
Oh,
の
we're
連
getting some
中が
Discord
残っ
lag
たんや
again.
それがミブロよ。ミブ村に住み着いたローと書いてミブロや。僕たちはずっと我慢してきた。強くなりたい。
覚悟はできているんだな。
はい。
わかった。
Come on, Discord. Come on.
俺たちのことだ。
嫌われ者の老子組ですよ。
今日の街を守る志は一つ。
俺の左に立つ。死んだら終わりなんだ。
だとしたらどうする？俺はああいうやつにニブロの未来を託したいと思うんだよ。満点だ。行くぞ。
テレビアニメ青のミブロ。
Well, it fixed itself just for the ending.
Oh no, were you locked out of it?
It was it froze a couple of times on me. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but
we seem to be having some trouble with the Discord because the stream from your side cuts out occasionally as well.
I'm not sure what's going on with that. Both the agency and mine are on premium, so. But okay, so this is Yuki. Did you watch this one?
No. I was gonna ask if this one ever actually even showed up on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, it is. It is on the seasonal. It was just a late entry into the season. If you were here at the beginning, I made a comment on there were a handful of shows that require historical Japanese context to watch. This is one of them. This is very much baked into a bit of an odd, almost warring period in right at the tail end of isolationism Japan. And it kind of, like I said, there is so much baked in here with like legendary samurai for like the turn of the century and the gangs they implied. The problem I have with this after going through it wasn't the cultural context I was missing. It was the fact that all the characters feel like fanfic inserts.
Oh.
Not in like the worst way, but it's like, oh yeah, this historical gang of legendary warriors. But there were really these secret 3 guys who were like doing odd jobs behind them, but were also all kick-ass warriors. It's very well done. Like when I say fanfic, I do have a little bit of that negative connotation behind it, but it's highly well done fan fiction. At least that's what it feels like to me. Overall, though, it doesn't look bad. There's no horrible CGI. There's nothing standing out. But at the same point, this is it takes that Japanese context that you need to have for the culture, which if you're in depth in that, I could see you liking this a lot more. If you don't have it, there isn't a good hook for you is the problem.
Yeah, so definitely not for people who are cross-genre on this one.
Yeah, it's like I could see low tier C just if you do have the context, but I could give it low tier because, like I said, it's like this was enjoyable. It just felt like I was missing too much context behind a lot of these characters. Hey,
All right.
let's...
Next up, stories of girls who couldn't be magicians. Oh, apparently it gave me the opening instead of a trailer.
Is this the full opening or the 30-second or minute opening?
Nope, the whole opening. I'm just gonna pause it there. Honestly, this is actually the art style that you see in the series as well, and we touched on this last time. It's kind of interesting for like a minute, but then it quickly becomes clear that they're just using these same filters over and over to mask the fact that all of the characters are CG.
You can't binge watch this show. Dear God, does that filter tire out your eyes after a bit too? This is
Yeah, it is visually exhausting.
on top of
And
that.
not in a good way.
On top of that too, this is we have Little Witch Academia at home. This is I wanted to be a magical witch person, Harry Potter as wizard or magical, but don't have magic or don't have the skills or didn't get select. There are some other shows coming down the pipeline that are going to do this better, and there are shows that have come out that have already done the same thing better. This is treading worn ground with a fancy filter.
Yeah, and it wasn't interesting or anything either. This one I definitely could not stick with. It was a drop for me. I'm for me this one goes in the skip category.
I'm not going to argue that one. This was tiring to watch, both as a visual aspect. The story was Owl House did this fucking better. It only did this in like a 3-episode parody.
Way better.
This was good on paper, good in opening looks. It doesn't hold up on most metrics to me. If you really, once again, I like Beast Wars. This exhausted me. This.
It could have been an okay short film. It did not need to be a series.
No, okay. What do we have next on the list? I really feel like starting with Don to Don was a bad idea at the board before we get through this season.
Next up is Acro Trip.
私は伊達千鶴子。お母さんの仕事の都合でおじいちゃんの家に1週間だけお世話になることになりました。1週間、長いような短いような。何？
Actually, can you pause it real quick? Is there a way you can turn down the quality? It should be on the top right.
Of my outgoing stream?
Yeah, see if we can get this going, because
I'm actually at the minimum. I'm only streaming at 720.
oh, it doesn't go low. I remember when 720 used to be a high setting. Yeah, because I'm getting some major lag on this one, but any way to fix this? All right, start it up again. Let's see if we can get going here. Wow, it's a dead frozen on me. Holy crud.
Uh-oh.
Here, let me drop.
I paused it again for the moment while you troubleshoot.
All right, I think I got it working out. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. All of the Sakuga in the entire show was in that preview.
Which you couldn't see on my side. This show should have come out 3 seasons earlier, and it might have been okay. It's following in the footsteps of other Magical Girl shows that have done a lot more interesting concepts similar to this, as well as other villain stories that have done so much better than this. And does it do it? Okay, I skimmed through a lot of this, honestly, just because of how bored I was. Did this do anything? Because I could not figure out any angle, twist,
Pretty much
concepts.
dropped it after our first initial chat on this season because it was not good. I mean, truly, it was like, let's take blushing over magical girls and remove all the stuff that made it at all good or interesting. And this is the product.
Well, it's like I was kind of confused about what the show was trying to do because, you know, main character likes magical girls, but then it's also gets more and more intertwined with the evil organization. Which,
Yeah.
it like I said, it's I was just stuff was. This feels like a nuanced take on an episodic show that doesn't know what it's doing with its take, and I couldn't quite place what it wanted to do because I don't know what the development was other than the main character decides I kind of like being evil or being part of this kooky semi I don't know. It's skip is going to
It
be where
left
it's
a lot to be desired. I definitely call this one a hard skip. I can't justify recommending this series to anybody.
no, it's bland, it's dull, it's didn't do anything.
It's not even fast food. It's like crusty brand imitation gruel.
I'm just picturing the SpongeBob episode where they have the crab cells out and they're just feeding like the auto slop Krabby Patties that look okay. Okay.
Yeah, probably something like that.
All
All
right.
right, next up is a terrified teacher at Ghoul School.
今日からこのクラスの担任になる阿部春明。よろしくね。
そいつ制服フェチらしいぞ。俺たちは妖怪だ。人間を化かして何が悪い。
あいつのクラスになったのが俺たちの運の尽きだ。3枚に下ろしてやるよ、魚野郎。しまった。バックンチョされた。スカートの下にズボン。
今の話ゆっくり書で聞かせてもらおうかな。
お注射の時間だよ。なんだって。
生命のあの力は何だ。
はてさて、彼は学園で得たことが吉と出るか凶と出るか楽しみですね。
面白いじゃん。
後先考えず突っ走りすぎだバカ。みんな
ちょっと楽しくなってきたわ。
祭りだ。廊下は走らず競歩でダッシュ。なんなんじゃな。
心のコントロールがうまくできないんだよ、昔から。
大丈夫だよ。君を信じないわけないじゃん。僕はみんなと楽しく素敵な学園生活を送りたいんだ。テレビアニメ「妖怪学校の先生」始めました。2024年10
This show was not good.
Okay. I have 2 things to say about this show. One, it's goddamn Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School. Down to the it's Japanese Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School, down to the classic monster tropes, because these are all standard Japanese yokai. A bit more of that context coming into play here. The mannerisms, the culture, a little bit of that. But I could not tear my brain away from that comparison, and I don't make that
There's at least 3 shows that do this better.
Yeah, and it's like it's I'm just picturing in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I wish I knew that the content. It's like it's expecting you to know some of these yokai. It's expecting you to know some of these cultural tropes. It's expecting you to know so much going into this, and then giving you not much else.
That's not even its biggest crime by a wide margin. Probably the biggest crime that the show commits is that it very much wants to be a comedy, and it is not even remotely funny.
Yeah, like I said, I'm wondering if there's a lot of puns mixed in here that just don't translate well. Lots of cultural context that just does not translate to a Western audience.
There could be some of that, but I'm inclined to believe, based off of what I can see and tell of this show, that it's just bad.
I can understand that. Is this a low C bad or a skip?
No, this is a hard skip bad.
Mm.
Save yourself some time. Go watch some Rosario X Vampire or something.
Oof, and that's not.
Because even that was way better than this.
Yeah, the scaredy cat teacher really didn't do much for it. Animation wise, I thought there were some entertaining designs. Nothing stood out to me though.
Animation wise, it was like, again, at best on the low side of par, but probably not even that. It was below par. Yeah, a couple of the character designs were vaguely okay-ish, but like they don't even stand up to designs from similar series from the early 2000s. So I can't consider this to have any redeeming qualities.
All right, we'll throw this straight into the skip again. All right, we are into the home stretch, people. 6 left. Make sure on that one.
Next up is Trillion Game.
Okay, I'm gonna say you bounced off of this hard, Yuki, right?
Pretty much. I had gotten through like episode 3, and I had kind of hoped to go back and watch more if I found time, but that definitely didn't happen.
Yep, time can be good. Once again, I was going into the business side with the Magical Girl show a little while back, but this show dives right into it. It's also the only mature rated show on this list this season. Why? Yes, you did call it. Why? What? Okay, it's
Rated M for capitalism.
I know why. It's because of the shower thing in episode 2. I bet you anything it's because of that. This
it only takes one little thing to bump up that rating.
Which is weird considering all the other weird fan service we got. Maybe because the critics should actually understand the rating on this one. I don't know. All right, because it probably looked more mature too. This show is nothing bad. This show is not so much a mystery, but a kind of genius. If you've watched Kaiji, if you've watched other, Get Rich or business style shows, this is very much in their ape. I would say it does a fairly good job of everything it does too. It's the only thing I'm very much worried about is the animation style throwing a lot of people off right away, because this, I don't want to say ugly, but what's a better word for opposite of cute? Yeah, it's exactly where I was.
I know what you're going for there, but
because it's like I don't want to say mature because it just are adult.
If I come up with a good synonym, I'll let you know.
But overall, this show manages to be tricky, be a bit thoughtful, and have one of the most over-explained fart jokes I think I've ever seen. Period. It's, I know. Do you have anything more you would like to add, Yuki, on this one?
I didn't really get to watch enough of it to be able to say too much. It it seemed like it was setting up to be like one of those kind of clever things, but I wasn't really confident it was going to deliver on it. Did you feel like it actually made good on the promise that it was setting up in the first few episodes?
It did a decent job of doing that. I'm not going to say it was like mind-bustingly crazy smart or overly confident, but it knew where it was trying to shoot, and it did manage to hit the target, if just a little bit off here and there. But overall, doing amazingly, I would say, or doing fairly serviceable. If this genre had more competition, I might say, oh, like, it's like, yeah, it might be passable, but like the last time I saw a show like this, I think it was Mr. Tokugawa's Middle Management Blues.
Don't think I'm familiar with that one.
Weirdly enough, it's a spin-off of Kaiji. It
Ah.
follows like one of the main antagonists through like his work life.
I see.
It's an interesting show, but overall, I want to throw this one into.
It definitely wasn't my thing, but it seemed like it could be maybe B quality material.
I want to throw this at B just because
if it did well.
If it was a little bit smarter, I would almost throw this in A. But it's intelligent, not genius, is its biggest downfall. That being said, the character dynamics between the two main people, it's not quite the thin man, fat man, or the strong dummy and the smart weakling, but it definitely has that dynamic duo bit going in it. They do work great together as a comedic and on-screen presence.
Okay, it might have some words that kind of are what you were going for ish, maybe. Unattractive, unaesthetic.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's just, once again, it's, if you guys saw from the trailer should have been working on my side finally. You can kind of see it from the cover. This has a art style. It's not the prettiest art style, but it's not ugly. It's intentionally
homely?
Yes. I like that. Okay, you have anything else to add, Yuki?
No, not really. I definitely did bounce hard off of the art style, and that was definitely one of the things that put me off for this series.
Yeah, I definitely figured on that one. All right, then. Let's see what we...
Next up is Haigakura.
いいかこの舞と歌を合わせて全部頭に叩き込めこれを覚えりゃどんな神だって自分のもんにできる一応
かつてその世界では人柱として4匹の狂神司教が封じられていただが司教は日本にいる
なんだてめえ史上最も出来損ないの歌手一葉じゃねえか調子に乗るなよなんでこいつらはこうなんだろうなやばい術が解けかけてるお前が歌を
普通でないところといえばあいつがありえないほどの音痴だというところか
歌手になれそうしてお前の育ての親白豪をお前の力で解放してやれ
俺にどうしろっつんだ人間とかそうじゃねえと知るかよ
俺か俺は
天候です我が弟子一葉がご迷惑をおかけしました
遊びに来たんじゃないんだぞ
遊びに来たんじゃないんだ。
We're not here to play.
すごい歌声聞いたことない。
何年ぶりになる
barely hold on to my side.
変わってなくて安心したぜ。
この子に手出しは許しません。
望んだものはそんなに大層なものだったろうか。ただ共にあれとそれだけなのに。
今すぐもう一度日本へ行かせろ。
酒でもどう
Come
だ。
on.
お前の弟子の秘密でもつまみにしてな。
ふざけんなよ。
さーて始めますか。
あいつはただの出来損ないの歌手で家族思いに不器用なクソガキなんだ。
もう後戻りはできねえ。
俺が一人でやる。
この世界が沈むが先か、彼が司教を連れ戻すが先か。
歌え一応。一応。
I forgot this show was a thing. I dropped it so hard after those first couple episodes.
Yeah, you mentioned there was only one Prime show this season earlier, but this was also Prime.
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, was there another one? It's like, yeah, if there was, I would remember. It's like, oh my.
This was a hard did not watch for me.
The first word that comes to mind is nothing burger. This seems like it's going to be a bunch of interesting things, but this feels like early 2000s spiritual modern day faux schlock. This feels like the kind of show I would pass on an anime like collection DVD rack, and it would just be like, I wonder what the hell that one was. Never heard of it before. Did you at least watch enough of this to like get a feel for the animation on it at all?
I literally watched none of it. This trailer is all that I've seen.
Oh, okay, because I felt it felt lackluster. It's like it might have had some decent stuff, but it is weirdly stylized, and some of it, the characters' designs seem to be. There was no cohesion in this. It's a modern day show with a bunch of fantasy trappings draped around it, and one big cat guy for reason.
Okay, what I will say is, judging by the fact that almost none of the characters moved in the trailer, that informs me a bit about the animation quality of the show, and that you probably aren't seeing a whole lot of action in this.
It's interesting because there's some canned animation with a certain dance that's very plot relevant, but I don't know. I'm gonna throw this in skip. I'm gonna throw this towards the bottom. I watched 3 episodes of this. I forgot. Like when I saw on this list, I was like, oh, did I forget to even try a show? It's like, oh no, my brain just kicked it out so fast I forgot it existed.
Yeah, I didn't get around to trying it at all, and I regret nothing on that front.
Okay, what do we have up next?
Next up is Mirai in Love.
僕には絶対に揺るがない意志があります。田中先生を好きでいることです。
この物語のヒロインを舐めてもらっては困る。そう簡単に男にマウントを取られてたまるかい。
JC Staff!
お前、田中とできてんの？
あなたの気持ちは嬉しいけれど、今はそれに応えられない。
諦める才能がなくてすいません。
先生、いい加減にしろ。
お前らのことが学内で広まればどうなる？
私はなんとなくあなたのことが気になって。10年くらい前からずっと好き。
くんのブロマイドたくさん持ってきたんですけど。
こいつ好きな人いるから邪魔したくないんだよね。
お願いします村井に時間をください。
心の友よ、本気で好きなんです。
村井くんはどうして私のことが好きなんですか？
村井の恋。
I'm gonna guess this was probably based off of like a 4 coma. This was a did not watch for me.
What's a 4 coma? A 4.
That's the like 4 panel comics.
I can definitely see that. I don't remember the show being on our opening list, and I pulled this sheet directly from that list. So, what was this? What was it? I don't know. How the fuck did this?
This is one of the ones that was in Hulu jail.
I'm really debating on upgrading that. Yeah. All right. Two things I want to say. Could you make sure Ranma is the note we end on for this stream tonight, Yuki? On the
Already
trailer?
got you covered there.
Okay. This feels like it's trying to ape the aesthetics of late 80s, early 90s kind of shows. It picked the wrong season to try that in, if it is. For the trailer. I did not watch this. I could not find it. This does not look great to me.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Not gonna lie, this doesn't grab my attention at all. Like, it's clearly some kind of like romance / comedy thing, but I know from experience not to touch anything that has this animation style and that genre with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Okay, I think the one that we both kind of look at went, yeah. Can be good at for skipping. All right, let's. My mouse has disappeared. Why have you disappeared on my mouse?
The scuff continues.
There we go. Hold on. All right, we are good to start it up, Yuki. Or what do we have here now?
Next up, we have Puniro is a kawaii slime.
僕の名前はプニル。とっても可愛いスライムです。ある日小太郎が僕を作ってからずーっと友達です。それから7年、お互い大きくなりました。僕はどこから登場しても可愛いですね。わあ、プニル、どっから出てきてんだよ。なんじゃこりゃ。ケチコ太郎。おい、プニル。僕の夢は僕が可愛いの代名詞になって世界中から可愛いって言われることです。テレビアニメ「プニルは可愛いスライム」。ま、僕の可愛さなら余裕ですけどね。自信ぽね。ふにゃははは。
Even the audio recording quality for the main character in this felt subpar.
Okay, so if anyone in the chat is familiar with the term canned animation, it commonly refers to a decently well done scene reused to help time with animating a show as well as to save budget. They do a full on, I think I timed it at 2-minute transformation sequence at least once per episode. I think I saw it twice in one episode.
I feel like even in the first 4 episodes, there was at least one time where it played like 3 times.
I could believe that too. I just wasn't quite sure on that one. That being said, I think once again, this is going to be one of the shows that Japanese culture kind of is required in this one. Not so much old culture, but semi-modern pop culture. Because this is very much aping into the Japanese children's genre of, was it Dokomon or the
Doraemon?
Doraemon, I believe, is the one. The small kid who has animal mascot friend with superpowers. which to be fair, we haven't actually seen a new show in that genre in a minute, I believe, at least on Crunchyroll and in the Western areas. Um, on the other side of that, this show wasn't too bad. This is meant for a younger audience, but I don't exactly mean that in the worst way. This is supposed to be a kind of growing up with your toys and other people that might not grow exactly the way you thought they would, or your dynamic changes, but you're still not quite sure if you want to have them in your life or what they mean in your life.
You know, I'm not totally sure it is meant for that younger audience, though. Like, thematically, I agree with you. But when you look at the actual content of the show, I feel like that's the audience they should have been targeting. And then they just kind of like spun around a few times with a blindfold on and shot in a completely different direction somewhere.
Oh yeah, the motherly instincts trope on a interesting character is
Yeah, there's a lot of like really weird and frankly unnecessary sexual stuff in the show. Um, and I don't say that lightly. Like I'm fine with a show being like adult content. That doesn't bother me at all. This just didn't feel like the right show for that.
no, and it once again I'm wondering how much of their different culture shock is going on in this. I'm wondering how much it is possibly being lost in that translation there. At the same point, I don't want to throw us in the skip. It's not going into B. I
It's at best the very bottom of C, I think. I definitely bounced off this and couldn't get past like episode 4, and I actually had hopes for this show.
It very much does,
But
and I could very much understand that. It managed to hit some feels for me in a couple of good spots, and I was just like,
so you're touching on something there, which is I think that this isn't a show that's actually targeted children. I think this is a show that's targeted at people who have that nostalgia for enjoying stuff like Doraemon when they were a child.
yeah, I could also very much see that, and that is the interesting concept with this. I can leave it in the bottom of C. I won't argue on that end. I just it managed to flip that feeling button a couple times. Managed to pull on those heartstrings here and there a little bit, and I really
How far did you end up getting in it, by the way? Because you mentioned, I think, at one point that you said that it kind of started getting better again, like later on.
around episode 6 or 7. Did you get to the big contest with the robot?
No, I stopped at about episode 4.
They basically introduce a rich girl who tries to introduce a character. It's like, oh, look at my imaginary friend came to life too, and was just kind of, but was really her maid making a robot companion who she was pretending to be her friend.
That's sad.
Oh, trust me, it gets even better because after the end of the episode, she finds out about it and throws the robot away.
Wow.
Well, the thing is, they throw the robot away, but everyone else kind of keeps it around class, and now it's this, like, it has this neutral, depressed look on its face. It's like that's just all it ever had, and the whole time it's just like, ah, to the point where it kind of becomes the class mascot, and everyone's just like, yeah, we love this damn thing.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about the show. Like, I feel like it had the potential there. Like, it had ideas that could have been like really good or touching, and then it just it really just got weird with the execution, and
On a lot of
it's not
stuff.
even that they didn't have the budget; they just like lost focus.
I don't know if there's much canned animation as they goddamn using this damn thing. I can believe they had no budget for this.
Yeah, I mean that was probably a problem too, but like they were just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, they.
And not in the fun, random, entertaining way.
I will definitely agree with that.
All right. Well, don't want to belabor that one too much. Up next is Kinoko Inu, Mushroom Pup.
Oop, hold on, I have absolutely no stream from your side. Let me give you. Oh, it's nothing. Like it's not even loading now. Would you like to stop streaming and then restart up for me, Yuki?
Sure.
See if we can have this fix it. I'll stop watching on that end. I will turn that off. Okay, then try to click it back on. Okay, I believe that has fixed it. Let's try.
Kinoko no inu? なんだこれ妖怪妖精犬みたい
Is it a demon? A fairy?
ずっとあそこにいたのかやっぱキノコは水なのか重いんだけど1個しかないんだけどっておい
That trailer does a terrible job of marketing this show.
Yeah, okay. To be fair though, it is a healing anime. The genre that's supposed to make you just relax and feel better about your day kind of show.
And yet, it is incredibly depressing as a show.
Yeah, it really is. It's I honestly I bounced off after episode 2 just from depressing and melancholy are hard for me to watch.
Yeah, I bounced off of this one pretty early as well. I really didn't have the emotional bandwidth for it, especially trying to also tackle like Suma Show. Like that was just way too much heavy emotional baggage in anime in one season for me.
Yeah, I a little piece of me doesn't want. I don't quite want to throw it into skip. At the same time, healing anime are supposed to be easy, munchy shows, not so much like trash, but just supposed
They're
to put
supposed to be soothing.
Yeah, this was. Yeah, life kind of sucks. You should own a cat, maybe a dog. It's.
And if your dog died, you should get another dog.
Oh, okay. I personally hate that concept. It's like I hate. I can understand where the mentality, especially the parent mentality of comes. Oh, my kid's pet died. Let's fill the void with new pet. I don't like that.
Yeah, it bothers me as well. I think we touched on that in the early season review as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just
It's
Huh?
It's too depressing. I don't want to.
Yeah, it deals with multiple themes of loss in the first episode, and that's just a really hard ask to get people into your show, especially when they're coming in expecting something that's supposed to be lighthearted, cheerful, to kind of pick them up from the morass of depression that is their everyday life. I can see how this show could have a place with helping people process that kind of grief, but again, it feels like it wasn't properly marketed for that, and thus it will kind of blindside anybody coming into it um with a lot of emotional flags that they're not ready for. Um for me, this one turned out to be kind of a skip, but I feel like uh it doesn't necessarily deserve that
Yeah, that's kind of the
from
problem.
the objective standpoint. It just, I have a hard time recommending it either.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't feel like it should be in skip, but the fact that we both started this show and immediately went, I just can't do it, kind of makes me want to put it down here because I was like, I don't know who this show is for. Like
Yeah.
this is fairly well done. It's does what it's trying to do well. I just don't know who I would give this show a recommendation to. I'm gonna put it at the top of skip. This is the only one I would say is in order. The rest of these are still bleh. But I can't. It's on that line. If it could do anything more, I would bump it up. But
It's not that it's overtly terrible. I just can't identify who the audience would be for this. And as such, I can't really recommend it to anybody.
yeah, that's where my problem is. All right, I believe now we get to go on to the weird exception that my rules have spawned for this. In full remakes of old shows will be counted as new because they are intended to start you onto its content. And we get to go, yeah, and we get to go with one of the oldies.
Ranma 1/2, the remake.
待たせたな。へいよ、俺無差別格闘早乙女流2代目早乙女ランマ。天道道場の茜は親同士が決めたいい名付け。
勝手に決めないでよ。男なんて大嫌いよ。
おめえ青いパンツ似合わねえ。
いっぺん死んでこい。そしてランマにはある悩みがあって、水をかぶると女に変身しちまうんだ。俺は男だ。
我が息子ながら何度見ても君を着てるつまか不思議。
そっちこそ君を着てるつだろ。
早乙女君待ちかねた。
朝ごはんですよ。
裸でうろうろされちゃ迷惑なのよ。
何を変態。何するんだよ茜。頑張るバカ。
本当おめえは可愛くねえな。
ランマ
ランマ
ランマくん。
ランマ君ランマ
ランマちゃん。ランマくん。ランマ2分の1。
Okay, there's a metric ton to unpack with this show. We'll try to go through it bit by bit. First, I think we'll try to say the legacy impact for the back end because I think there's gonna be a ton to unpack there. Okay, as far as this show currently goes, for anyone coming into it, this is an action shonen harem romance comedy.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
And it will continue to be all of those all the time, nonstop, in the most outrageous. I don't know if anything's ever really topped this as far as harems go either. In one of the most weird ways you can imagine.
I don't know what you mean topped it in terms of harems. Like, by what metric? Like number of characters or number of like unique entanglements or?
Honestly, if both of those apply, I can't think of anything that has either on more of those.
Well, I can't say that I watched far enough into the original Ranma to say with confidence that I've seen all of the characters. but I still feel like there may have been other shows that had more. Because Ranma does tend to kind of come back to the same couple characters over and over.
Yeah,
But it definitely does introduce a plethora of side characters that have like little one arc bits and then kind of never come back.
well, there are a ton of those because this. Okay, a little bit about the legacy. This is an 80s show. This gives you a discount, a content warning of, hey, this is a very old show. We have not modified it from its original air dates or time period. Be warned.
There is like one minor ish modification, which is they made the odd, interesting choice to kind of Barbie doll the characters in this. Whereas in the original, they did have, albeit poorly animated, nipples.
Okay, the one thing I can say to that is Ranma One Half is one of the earliest animation or even manga genre defining harem style shows. Like it still wears its shonen roots on its sleeves. Honestly, when I first started picking this up, my first thought was, oh yeah, this is a lot of the original tropes, a lot of the original gimmicks. I forgot that the Zoro constantly lost was a trope founded in this show, or popularized in this show at least. Um, and you'll see so many of those tropes. On the other side, the further I got into watching this reboot, the more I realized, oh, this isn't just Ranma again. This is Ranma again. This was a classic hit. This was a massive franchise. And I think it still deserves that title. There is so much this show and series does right. So many of the characters I enjoy are like. It's while they don't make sense, if you realize how crazy they all kind of are and how even I'm not going to say 40 years ago because I don't like how that sounds. The different the world was, there really is a difference in gap, a difference in what people did at around that time. And
In terms of what was socially and culturally acceptable as well, in terms of aping things for the purposes of a gag, for instance, because you mentioned it was a comedy, but it's more accurate to say that it's a gag anime.
yeah, okay, I will agree. I will completely agree with that. On a particular note, if you're kind of wondering what the whole premise of the story wasn't, that is yeah, there are some cursed hot springs. If you fall into it, you get the curse that was befall that hot springs of whenever you were splashed with cold water, you get whatever died in that. Ranma gets the spring of the drowned girl. His father gets the spring of the drowned panda. Hijinks will ensue. His father tends to like being a panda more than he does human. I really can't blame him for that.
I mean, in the original, at least, eventually Ranma kind of settles into being a girl, arguably more often than a boy as well.
Yep, the little bit of fan service there. So many of the interactions with characters and stuff, I really did like. Like there is a lot I did enjoy because the sexism talk for certain characters is still in the air. The gender roles are still kind of in the air for things. The I okay, I was gonna say, probably wanted to say this for a little bit later, but I know you wanted to, when we were first going over this, you were trying to talk about how much impact for transgender people Ranma really had.
Hmm. Yeah, the fact that the series, depicted it in the way that it did, and like, well, I mean, not even that. Like, this was a series that came at a time when there weren't a lot of representations of trans people in media at all, and this was kind of one of um, the early incarnations of people seeing that represented, and it even having the ability to kind of trigger in their mind that, oh hey, what if, and maybe I'm not what I was assigned at birth. Maybe I'm not what I can see on the surface, and having that opportunity to identify with a character that is a gender other than what they started out as. Um, and I think also that what I was alluding to earlier, where Ranma sort of settles into um, the more feminine persona, and like staying in that state more often, and also being like accepted in that state, like how can I put this, like there is it's almost uncanny in the context of the show, the way that Ranma ultimately ends up being accepted as female while presenting as female by the characters around him slash her. Um, because there's this very real understanding for the characters in the show of Ranma's kind of assigned and accepted gender being male, and yet Ranma is ultimately frequently allowed into these kind of female specific spaces while presenting as female. I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent, but it was a very early influence for a lot of folks, especially in the current trans community, because the current trans community also tends to have a very large anime watching population. Um, I'm not actually sure how much of that is an influence of what, because maybe uh, watching anime is something that gives so many people an exposure to the possibility of of viewing themselves as something different, and maybe that's where the attachment is for that, but I don't know.
Yep, a bit of the unpack there. Part of the reason I wanted to bring this at the end, because I knew that is a part of this show's legacy, from how old and how influential it could be on the space of anime in general. On the other end, the one thing that this update does fix is the voice acting. Anyone familiar with your old show will know that there are a handful of Chinese characters. They do not speak in a acceptable format for nowadays. I think one of my favorite comments is they speak Shinglish, and oh my god, is it it's they fix a lot of that.
No, the girl type Ranma.
Yeah, there's a lot there that this does actually manage to fix. That the characters that are like that are dubbed and translated a lot better, or their dialogue was fixed to be a better representation of someone who is not speaking their native language in a non-offensive way.
On the other hand, if you are familiar with the original, that can be a tiny bit jarring at times, especially as a character who one scene ago didn't speak English at all, or realistically Japanese that's being translated to us as English, and then suddenly speaks it fluently.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they had some key phrases down. I don't know if I would ever call them fluid in this. And in the original, they had they had the broken accent all the way through it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But the point being, there's really no transition. They go from having absolutely no knowledge of the language to having no accent or anything at all.
yeah. As for I wanted to do the legacy at the end, but honestly, it slips through at the start here. Um, the one thing I will have to say that I knew going into it I was going to have a bit of a problem with it, and it started at this beginning. I gave it some leeway, but it picked up again at the back end. Akane is proto tsundere, and she kind of has all the problems I have with the tsundere genre, especially for that time period to begin with. She is kind of a bitch. I don't know if you would
Yeah,
like to
I see
comment
what
on
you're
that.
going with, where you're going with that. Like, she she could have so much more like empathy than she does, but she's very kind of wrapped up in herself, and frankly, it's not at all hidden or secret, even in the first few episodes, that she is straight up a man hater. Um, and that really continues to shine through, where she just gives very little leeway or understanding, particularly to Ranma. Um,
It's the slightest infraction is met with, or the slightest misunderstanding is met with her full fury at every turn. Even
yeah,
after, like, she would get mad about something Ranma just something he would have no control over, and he'd be completely sudden like, "Oh, what? Get caught." Have her get absolutely furious, and then have a flashback like, "I thought she liked me." It's like, that's not even a misunderstanding. That's you saw it, assumed the absolute worst, gave no room to even look at the situation or the people you know who would, take advantage of it, make it look like the worst possible thing, and just go with it every turn. I
so that observation plays into some other stuff here too. One of which, again, it is actually realistically a gag anime, and that was one of the gags, right? Her like she wasn't really meant to be a character who had emotional development and depth. She was meant to be the person who got angry and created conflict, and thus kept all these story arcs going by way of having all of these really egregious responses, right?
Yep.
um and it's kind of clear that originally, early on, she was being looked at as being like the character that would be the target of like all the male attention in the show, and like the one who would keep getting kind of like hit on and everything by all the new male characters that were introduced, and thus being kind of like the female lead and the female focus of the show. But I think part of the reason why we see Ranma take on that role that I mentioned earlier, and sort of shift into spending more and more time in the feminine form, and being more active in these feminine spaces, is because Ranma ended up becoming the female lead of the show as well as the male lead.
Yeah, that was a
Akane very much became a side character who was there for like dramatic tension.
and gag. It's that is the problem. Like I said, it's the problem of she is the proto tsundere. There is not a lot of depth to her, but that's kind of the problem. It's so much of this show holds up and feels good. A lot of the time when it's Akane getting that bad male attention, it's not. It doesn't feel like Ranma's getting jealous a lot, especially in the new show. It feels more like, oh, she is very uncomfortable. Hey, douche, step back a bit, please.
Yep.
Where a lot of the time where it's in Ranma would get that unwanted female attention, and he would be met with the older gag style of, oh, cheating man is cheating, slap him. It it's one of those at the time in concept. I can understand what they were going for. I can very much know what it is, but it has not aged well. It comes down to almost, if you're familiar with anyone's familiar with the show Inuyasha, the gag of
Mhm.
Kagome putting him into the ground at a moment's notice for the slightest thing.
I mean, again, that's really like as you touched on, Akane is kind of the proto character for those archetypes, and so that's absolutely where Kagome gets that from, right?
Yep.
Like without without Akane and maybe a couple of others that also came in that early phase, there wouldn't be the prevalence of characters like that to begin with, in all likelihood.
Yep. Once again, it is a note that unfortunately they can't really fix her in post, but everything else surrounding this, I enjoyed so thoroughly. This was, oh, right, I loved Ranma. I'm happy to rewatch this. This is a nice updated animation. I wouldn't say I believe the original show does have better opening animation, as in their first handful of episodes are animated better. But I know after that, at least first season run or first couple of arcs, it does just nosedive in quality.
Yeah, so for my part, like that's something I was going to say is I would actually recommend watching the original over this one. Like I'm glad in some ways that these sort of remakes exist in order to bring attention to things that do contribute so much to the legacy of anime in general. But I also feel like it kind of corrupts and waters it down to, have everyone be familiar with the remake instead of the original. And as we alluded to, so many of these things are a product of their time, and I feel like as a time capsule that contains that culture, the original works better in that regard. But I can also see the argument that as we start to approach, especially like season 2 plus of this, the animation in the original will start to really not hold up. And that's where I'm excited more than I am with season 1 to see what they do with that and see how they, kind of improve those otherwise very uh under animated sequences.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how far they want to go with this show too, because the final couple arcs of Ranma are very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll see where
Oh,
it goes. I,
oh,
I mean, I feel like we've seen this happen before with other kind of like remakes where they get like a season, maybe two, and then it kind of falls off because they just don't get the response they were expecting or something, and then it just kind of dies there.
yeah. Oh, let me drop this a little bit. Did you ever meet or ever get to the point where you met Ranma's mother in the show?
Ranma's mother. I'm not sure I did.
Oh, trust me, very memorable. So the reason she was so okay with her husband taking her, I think he was like 3 or 4, somewhere there, maybe 5 year old son onto tour China to learn martial arts, was so he could be very manly in all that aspect. To the point where she very much, yeah, if you ever fail in this, though, I will kill both you and him.
Wow.
Oh,
So even the mom was extremely chauvinistic.
oh, trust me, it's her first whole arc is hiding female Rama from her under the fear that she will try to kill both of them.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think I ever got that far. I think I watched the first around roughly 100 episodes, like 80 to 120, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
But I'm aware that the series was a fair bit longer than what I managed to watch.
oh, and that oh, did you ever get to Panty Taro?
Panty Taro. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't have a picture in my head to go with it.
Body of an ox, wings of an eagle, tail of a cobra, of a snake, head of a lion.
I'm going to say no, but it has been close to 20 years since I watched the original series.
I'm slowly turning to dust. It's not that old. Okay, Ranma has to go into the S, doesn't it?
I'd be okay with putting it in A because it is a remake, and I feel like it it didn't really like have an ending for season 1.
Yeah, it had a very weird point. I know what leads into next, so could be very
I mean,
interesting.
it has high quality animation and everything, but it yeah, it, I can't really give it any points for originality or anything like that. And while it has that legacy to go with it, I feel like that legacy belongs to the original, not to the remake.
I can understand that very much, but okay, everybody. I think this is going to be our final listing for fall season 2024. Damn, this will mark the end of 2 years and the start of year 3 come spring. Well, no, winter season.
Yes, winter season,
Oh,
which ironically starts after New Year's.
I mean, winter starts on the 22nd, technically, of December.
It's just weird.
Seasons are funky like that. Which, hey, 2025 will be a good year, right? Right?
Surely, nothing bad will happen in 2025 at all.
I look forward to seeing the 51st state of the United States. Okay, everybody. We should be back in about probably 2-3 weeks. Probably 3 weeks at the minimum. We did get a bit of an early start compared to normal on the end of season with a winter, but on shorter notice, both me and Yuki will be back this coming Sunday as I pull Yuki into the grim dark of the 41st millennium and Warhammer Rogue Trader.
Look forward to seeing you all then.
But okay, let us. Nope. Need to get back to this window. Okay. Twitch. Who do we want to raid out? Who do you have up still?
I've got Swimming Link available.
Yep, something is still on there. For me as well. That feels like a good person. Oh, Chrono Trigger too. So yeah, very anime themed too. Especially after that, I think we can go over there and raid Swimming Link.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Hope to see you all again next time.
Yep. Let me get started. I don't know why was that so hard to pull up. But hope to see you there. Hope to see you Sunday. I will, if anyone wants Warhammer lore explained, I'm an open book. I love going on about this stuff. Yuki will be drowned in the God Emperor's light. Later, everybody.
Matini.